that time again. It's time for some Talking Bollocks. Yes! It's me, Howard H. Smith. I am your host. That's right. I am lead singer of UK thrash band Acid Rain. Used to say rebooted, but not anymore because we're back with a new album, motherfucker. Yep, came out. It's out. Go get it. Acid Rain, The Age of Entitlement. Have a listen. I also do stand-up comedy. I do stand-up comedy. Stand-up comedian, been doing that for 25 years. I MC shows as me, Howard Smith. Oh, hello, Mr. Robin. There's a robin just turned up outside my window, and I swear he's staring at me. Isn't that nice? Anyway, that's called a tangent, and there will be a few of those. So stand-up comedy, I MC shows as me. I also do a character called Keith Platt, professional Yorkshireman. You can find Acid Rain and Keith Platt all over social media, all over Twitter, all over Facebook, all over Instagram, apart from Keith Platt, he's not on Instagram. So there you go. I say he, it sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? It's me, dressed up as an old man, but I refer to him in the third, there you go, him, in the third person. Isn't that fucking weird? I hate it when people do that, but when I do it, it seems all right. Yes, that's the kind of utter bullshit that you will be hearing over the next few hours. That's right. I'll contradict myself, I will make judgments, and I will do all of that with little or no research. So there you go. If you like the sound of that, you're in the right place. If you don't, fuck off, you cunt. Yeah, that's right. We're full on in the room. So, hello, welcome to Talking Bollocks Towers. What are we up to this week? What has been happening in the world of metal in the last month? And the answer is a fucking lot. I am going to start off with something shit. It looks like Motley... Well, it isn't. Motley Crue are back. That's right. Isn't that great news? I mean, I should have seen this coming, you know, with the success of The Dirt. Should have seen it coming. But no, didn't see it coming at all. So yeah, Motley Crue, Def Leppard and Poison are going to tour together. Now, all I can say is, well, you know, if you live in the past and you really enjoyed the 80s... then I would imagine that is an absolute wet dream for you. And I've got to be honest, I've owned Motley Crue albums and I've owned Def Leppard albums. Not Poison albums, though, because I'm not that way inclined, if you know what I mean. And by that I mean I don't like shit music. And Motley Crue have done some good tunes, and I quite enjoyed the Dirt. It was an amusing piece of tat. I mean, it was nowhere near, you know, an expose on... Motley Crue, I've talked about it on here before, but it was all right. Def Leppard, you know, Photograph, what a tune. Didn't like the later stuff, but yeah, you know, and Poison, sorry. So, you know, it's what a tour. For those of you that like that shit, it's a great tour, okay? But Motley Crue coming back and all the rest of it, I just think is like, Vince Neil, just sort it out, Vince. Lay off the pies before the tour, please. I mean, they're back, and this shit happens. And they've obviously been offered so much money, they couldn't turn it down. And this is telling you all about the music business and where it is at the moment. You know, music promoters are desperate to get Motley Crue out of retirement to get some decent money, you know, and to make some money, because that's the way the world works, unfortunately. Because the other tour that I was going to talk to you about before this one was even announced, and that was quite recently, was Whitesnake, Foreigner and Europe Spring Arena Tour 2020. Well, I tell you what, it's a good job that was announced well before Motley Crue, Def Leppard and Poison, because I think I see some crossover there. Wouldn't it be awesome if we could get all 6 bands on the same bill in an arena, and then something were to happen? But yeah, so there you go. Whitesnake, Foreigner, Europe, Spring Arena Tour 2020. Jesus, stay away. What else have we coming? Stone Sour live album. Yeah, Stone Sour have announced they're going to release a live album. Anyone? Anyone care at all? Thought not. There we go. A story that was on Blabbermouth. Slayer. Kerry King. Partnering with Dean Guitars, saying it's going to be a wild ride for years to come. I mean, I think it's pretty much an open secret now that we know that Kerry King is, as soon as Slayer is done, is going to be coming back doing something else, because he's kind of does that. He's not announced it, but he's done and said things like this that make it quite clear that he is not done. Slayer maybe, but he is not done. So that should be quite interesting. And all the usual fucking, did you see all the debates about people going on, who's going to be in the band, you know, Phil Anselmo will be on vocals, and it's like, for fuck's sake, just... people got nothing better to do than speculate, fine, but until it's announced, no one knows. That's all I'm saying. What did happen was, I found this both amusing and sad in equal amounts. And sad, I mean like boo-hoo, not like, oh, that's sad. Machine Head's Brixton Academy show getting truncated because someone threw a 2-pint glass of beer that we now do, a 2-pint, chucked it on the soundboard and ruined the gig for everyone. Now, I kind of find it amusing because I'm sure Rob Flynn was doing his best to ruin the gig for everyone anyway, up to that point. But I mean, I'm joking, obviously. But fucking hell, when some knobhead does something like that, it's bad enough if you think about it. I mean, have you ever been in a crowd where someone's chucked a pint and either part of the pint has landed on you or the majority of the pint has landed? It's not fucking fun, is it? It's not funny. But when you dump a 2-pint glass over a soundboard, I'm just thinking, why would you buy 2 pints and then throw it? I mean, a pint... Even why would you throw a pint? What are you fucking doing? You fucking idiot. What goes through somebody's mind? You've got a 2-pint... I mean, unless you've taken somebody else's and thrown it, in which case you're an even bigger cock. Because you've stolen it and then thrown it. Steal it and drink it, I can kind of understand that. But steal it and throw it, no. But then buy it and throw it, no. It's just a whole world of dickhead going on here. Why would you do that? Even to fucking Machine Head. Because I'm convinced there's basically Machine Head fans, and then there's everybody else, right? But it's just insane. I've got to think that was done on purpose. You didn't accidentally hit the soundboard. Literally, has somebody gone, right, okay, I'm not really enjoying the gig. There's the soundboard. I can hit that with a beer, and then gone to the bar and gone, nah, fuck it, make it 2 pints. Give me a 2-pinter. I'm going to make sure I completely fucking get that desk. Because even if I only hit it slightly, a pint might not be enough to wipe the thing out. So give me 2 pints. What the fuck goes on in someone's head that makes them do that? Answers on a postcard, please. I cannot fucking work it out. Look, I have got to say, A Place Where There Is No More Pain, Life of Agony, that album is absolutely kicking my ass at the moment. And I don't say ass because I'm not American. It's arse, okay? Kicking ass. It sounds... Actually, do you know what? It doesn't sound right, does it? I know I've done this before. I know I've said this before, back in the day, arse or ass, but kicking arse is like, let's go out and kick arse. It just sounds jolly hockey sticks, doesn't it? Oh, let's go and kick arse, and after that we'll go fox hunting, and then maybe some tennis, and then have afternoon tea at the Ritz, like a cunt. I mean, what? No, it's got to be kick ass, isn't it? So, sorry, but there we go. So, Life of Agony, A Place Where There Is No More Pain, is really kicking my ass at the moment. It really fucking is. It is a great fucking album. And by that I mean... I would say it's kind of like a heavy, hard rock album. It's not comparable to The River Runs Red at all. And it wouldn't be. It's a lot of fucking water under the bridge since then. Many, many years have passed. But it's a fucking great record. It really is. A great album. I always think when people say great record, in my mind, I always think of a record spinning round, vinyl, and think, steady on, Grandad. It's an album. So here I am. It's an album. It's a great album. It's fucking brilliant. And do you know what? I absolutely love the drums on the album. Absolutely superb. There's some lovely little touches that really make some of the songs. And I just really, really unique and very identifiable. And as some of you may know, and some not, the drummer is Veronica Bellino, I think it's pronounced. And it's fucking awesome. She is awesome. She is fucking awesome. And I have to say, and this is not something I'm proud of, right? But I have to say, I genuinely caught myself in my head being completely Alan Partridge and going, yeah, you know, it's the old Alan Partridge quote. When it's the first series of Alan Partridge, he has a female band on, and he goes up, and at the end of the song he goes, yeah, very good, great drummer, close your eyes, could have been a man. And honestly, I'm such a cunt. I genuinely had the thought of, she's good, and just catching myself going like, are you saying like, oh, she's good, like it's some sort of surprise because she's a female drummer? And I was like, that you're such a twat. You are such a twat for even thinking that. And I thought, do you know what? I've got to tell you about it in case any of you catch yourselves doing it, because you're twats too. You know, or maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the only person who thinks like that. But I did, and I gave myself a right old slap for it. But just to make a point again, great album. Great drums, great lyrics, great vocals, great bass playing, the lot. And had a lot of love on social media. Talking Bollocks podcast has had a lot of love on social media from Alan Robert, who is, you know, bass player and just extraordinary man. He wrote The River Runs Red, which in my opinion is one of the top 5 greatest debut albums of all time. The River Runs Red. If you haven't heard it, go and get it, for fuck's sake. What are you doing? And Mina Caputo also, both of them retweeted a Talking Bollocks tweet, and Alan started following the podcast as well. So hello, Alan, if you're listening. I'm sure he's not. I'm sure he just follows me on Twitter. But there you go. It's very, very cool, and I suggest anybody with an ounce of decency checks the album out, because there is something for everyone. It's a concept album. It's a follow-up to River Runs Red, which was a concept album. What? Their debut album was a concept album. It's in the top 5 of your favourite debut albums of all time. Yeah, that's right. And it's fantastic. It's really well done. The concept holds together. The whole thing works, and it is absolutely just spot on. So what else has been going on? Well, funnily enough, I just mentioned that, I have a balcony. I'm doing this in my lounge, and I have a huge, I don't have a huge balcony, but I have a balcony that's attached to the lounge. Obviously, I'm making a fucking mess of describing what a fucking balcony is. Jesus Christ. And I got these big, you know, glass doors that open out onto the balcony so I can see straight out. And there's a tree right outside my window. And about 4 or 5 o'clock every day, it's full of fucking magpies. Now, I fucking hate magpies, right? Because they fucking kill other birds. The other day, I actually found the corpse of a bird in one of my window boxes. Right, I'm sounding so fucking middle class here, aren't I? So I found a corpse of a bird in one of my window boxes. A headless corpse. I then found the head in the other window box, and that's because that's what magpies do. They pick on smaller birds and they snap their necks and tear their heads off. And then the following day, there was a magpie walking up and down on my window boxes on my balcony, looking at me like, where's my killing? Where the fuck is it? What have you done with it? And they're fucking cunts. Magpies are absolute cunts. To the extent, I've been toying with the idea of buying an air rifle and fucking taking them out one by one when they're in the fucking tree, right? Now, that's not exactly making me James Hetfield, right? I'm not exactly going out and killing deer and bears, but also I'm not doing it. I know some of you might be listening to this and thinking, but there's still animals, Howard. You are a cunt. So I'm going to unsubscribe and stop listening to the podcast. And if you feel that way, goodbye. But it's just that they're horrible. They're fucking cunts of the skies. They're worse than pigeons. They're absolute twats. I'm seriously considering taking them out. This has got nothing to do. It's got nothing to do with metal, really, has it? I hope you're hanging in there when you're hearing this. You're thinking, fucking, hopefully he's going to get back to something I'm interested in any minute, because this is not what I tuned in for. Yay! I tuned in. I haven't done any one of those for a while. And do you know what all of that was about birds? That was a tangent. And I do those quite a lot, but this is the first one, my second one I've recognised in this podcast alone. And I think on that basis, it's time to get into an interview, and I need to go and sit in a darkened room for a while. And you guys need to listen to an interview. So, first up in the podcast, it is Barney from Napalm Death. Now, Barney and I had a right old chat, as I always do, on the podcast, and what a great guy he is. First of all, he got in touch with me, emailed me. We both emailed about 6 weeks ago. And he wasn't able to, and he was responding to an email. He got back off tour and just emailed me out of the blue and went, "Hi mate, sorry I didn't return you this email, been away, but I'm free over blah blah blah. Should we try and do this?" And it's like, that's just how cool is the guy? How fucking sound is that? So yeah, we got to talking about all sorts, to be honest with you. And you're going to hear about it all now. So why would I tell you what we talk about? Because we're going to talk about it right now. But all I've got to say is, really enjoyable. Yet another reason why, if I were you, I'd sign up to the Patreon section of this podcast. Okay, that's Patreon, patreon.com/Howard H. Smith. Because if you'd been a patron at the time, you'd have got to ask Barney any questions you like, because you get the podcast early for a start. You get it before everybody else, but you also get a heads up on who's going to be on the show, and you get to tell me what questions you'd like to ask, and we do that in a separate podcast. So you get your own separate podcast, and you get the original podcast first, and you get loads of Acid Rain extras and all sorts of comedy bits and pieces. So it's $5 a month, $6 including tax, I think. Any patron who's already signed up will tell you it's worthwhile. Barney does about another 45 minutes that you won't hear that is on the Patreon side of the podcast. So I know I keep plugging it, but it's basically it helps keep the lights on here at Talking Bollocks Towers. It's money that I can invest back into the podcast, and we can keep making it strong and making Talking Bollocks great again. Fucking hell. Baseball caps on sale soon. Not a fucking chance. Anyway, enough waffle. Here's me and Barney talking a couple of weeks ago.
Hello, mate.
Hello, mate. How are you?
You're all right. Yeah, not too bad. Sorry about that.
No.
Hello.
Yeah, that was me screwing up that time.
Okay. So I just waiting for the phone to ring, and I thought I'd better go and check the handset, and I just realised that after having the phone for about 20 years, the bloody the rechargeable batteries inside the handset have gone up the shitter. So I tried to put some other ones in, and they weren't having it. So I think the actual phone's knackered. So at least I now know that I've got to go and get a new landline phone as little as I use it. So.
This has already been useful. That's what you're trying to tell me, isn't it?
Yeah. Fucking pain in the arse. Honestly, the only trouble is you kind of need a landline here because, as I said to you yesterday, like the mobile signal's a little bit intermittent, and sometimes when you want to do interviews and stuff, you need a clear line, So hopefully you can hear me okay, and everything's coming through okay.
We're doing all right. I've just changed. I probably should have done this before the new album came out, but I've just changed. Mobile providers for the same reason. Is just getting drops in calls and stuff where I am.
Right, yeah.
And it's just a pain in the arse.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I've always used I try to use the smaller networks, the more sort of ethical networks, I suppose. But and those can be a little bit problematic because obviously they haven't got the same clout as the big companies, in terms of where they piggyback and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just can't fucking deal with it. You know what I mean? So I'm just in one of them areas where I'm right, but basically I'm like 5 minutes from the sea, and for whatever reason, it tends to be like, I don't know where the mast is round here, but I've got a feeling it's quite a ways away. You know what I mean?
Right.
There
so,
you go.
you're by the sea, did you say?
Yeah. I don't live in Birmingham. I haven't lived in Birmingham for like 5 years, something like that. So I live on the coast.
Was that a big conscious move, or just like something you felt you had to do?
I just wanted to change the scenery, to be honest. I love Birmingham. It kind of means a lot to me in a lot of ways, but I also I got to a point where I just wanted a bit of a change, and I was fortunate enough to be able to do that at that point. So I was like, you know what, I'm going. So I had a load of mates over this way. I wouldn't have come if I was just on my own in terms of, my friends circle, I suppose. But you know, I got a lot of mates just up the road, so you know, it's all right.
Well, speaking of which, you know, you're on the road a hell of a lot, and you have been for 30 years. That's got to make it difficult to maintain, you know, friendships, close relationships, all of those kinds.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you know, I guess the cliche is your friends are your friends. You know, they'll always be your friends if they are your friends. You know, so I mean, yeah. I mean, I've still got a lot of mates in Birmingham, you know, and they always. I mean, I just spoke to somebody the other day that I hadn't spoke to for a good 5 or 6 years now. You know what I mean? And it's not because I didn't want to speak to them. It's just, like you say, I've been so fucking preoccupied with Napalm and other things as well that are just because I'm not in the area anymore. I just tend to lose touch a little bit, but yeah. So you know, but I'll see that person hopefully soon. And yeah, I mean, friendships aren't really affected in terms of platonic friendships. I mean, that's always fine, you know, but it is true that any prospective like relationships beyond that can be a bit tricky, you know. But I'm always pretty philosophical about it. You know, it is what it is, you know, and sometimes it's about quality rather than quantity of the relationship, you know. So it's like I just get on with it, really, you know. I don't let it bother me, and you know, it's like anybody, you know, when you're involved in certain fields of things, you know, travelling, then that's how you meet people, really. So a lot of my relationships have always been a bit long distance, very tricky, but a couple of them have succeeded, have been really good, you know. So it's not impossible. You know?
Yeah, I know the feeling. The old long distance relationship. That's a bit of a favourite of mine.
Yeah.
And I guess it is, you know, you're exactly right. You get so absorbed and so busy in what you're doing that the only way you're going to meet anybody is by meeting somebody who's somehow involved in what you're doing. And that kind of works because they get it. Because you know, it's not for want of a better phrase, you know, a civilian, if you want it, for want of a better phrase, finds the whole life just a bit too weird.
Well, I don't know if it's that necessarily. I think just purely it comes down to just the human instincts, you know, familiarity, you know, and sort of closeness. I think that can be really fucking testing for some people. You know, it really can. You know, I mean, I suppose technically I'm a musician. You know, that's
yeah,
arguable. You know, but it's like so. I mean, obviously there is kind of a stigma behind being a musician sometimes. But you know, me personally, I'm just the same as a person as I would be if I was still doing engineering, you know, as I was 30 plus years ago, wherever it is now. So I'm no different, you know. I mean, I've never been a subscriber to this so-called rock and roll lifestyle. I think it's fucking stupid, to be honest. And I just think for the most people that are involved in making music and in whatever sort of way that might be, I just think that they would also tell you that it's just a bit of nonsense, you know what I mean? So it's,
it's a bit of yeah. I mean, I guess it's just it's the travelling and everything else that, you know, people struggle with, but that's, you know, that's by the by. It's the being away.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I'm quite philosophical about it. You know, I've had ones come and go. Some people that I really liked, and it was purely the distance, you know, that made it not possible for that other person. I've never had a problem with it. I've always kind of stuck it out.
Yeah.
Not because I feel that I needed to or anything like that, but just because I wanted to. You know what I mean? And then when it ended, yeah, sure, you know, everybody gets a bit like, oh, down the mouth about it, but it's fleeting, you know, like it would be a relationship a mile down the road, and then you just kind of sort of like refreshing and move on after that, you know. Yeah. I mean, I appreciate that not everybody's the same, and not everybody has the same approach to that, and I wouldn't put anybody down because of that, you know. But it's just the way I do with it, and I'm quite comfortable with it, you know. I really don't have a problem, you know. So.
Yeah, I've kind of been in a very similar situation a few times myself, and I guess it is. I struggle with being philosophical about it. I guess really.
Yeah. It's good that you can be truthful about it. You know, it's a lot of people don't admit that. You know, but I think that's. Yeah, I mean, I kind of look at it very, very coldly. You know, it's like, well, I kind of ask myself, what's the alternative? You know, what to get like really down in the mouth about it? Like, what am I going to do? How am I going to? I'm not going. It's not going to change anything. It's not going to resolve the situation. And clearly, if it's somebody that's involving it's going really well, I mean, it's just as hard for them. You know, I mean, they have to come to a decision, as you would if you so chose to make that decision. You know, so there's really nothing you can do about it. You know, you just have to kind of refresh yourself a little bit, and then just, I guess, just get on with your life. You know, I mean, don't sort of don't just like sort of think to yourself, oh, there's got to be something else right around the corner, because there isn't. You know, very often you've just got to carry on, and things naturally in time will happen. You know, so it's the way it goes.
Yeah, there's a very cool phrase I heard recently, which was everything will be all right. Everything will be all right in the end, and if it's not all right, it's not the end.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's really not. You know.
And that's kind of that was kind of what was running through my mind as you were talking there, because I don't know. I think maybe I've kind of fallen into a few relationships where I've kind of seen that, like, especially I think it's easy with a long distance relationship where it's kind of like, well, I'm not actually fully committed here because it's like ultimately doomed before it's even started. I think there's a little fear of commitment within me that makes me think, oh no, I like the idea of that because it's almost doomed before it started, which sounds fucking mad now I say it out loud.
Yeah, sure, but I mean the thing is that there's both ends of the spectrum there, because sure, you know, you've got to be. I keep saying you got to. That's the wrong way to put it. It's good to be philosophical, you know. It's good to be philosophical when these things end. But, you know, on the other end of the spectrum, when you do something, don't think it's doomed from the start, you know. I mean, there are always possibilities. I mean, I know people, not necessarily in music, but I know people who have had long-distance relationships and basically all worked out for them, you know. And actually a friend of mine round here, you know, his wife is Japanese. He met his wife in a pub in the middle of Brighton, you know, and you know, so and they got on really well, and I think she was studying over here maybe, and obviously she went back to Japan in the end, but it was strong enough that they kept it going, and now she lives with him in Hove, you know, it's just next to Brighton. So these things do work out, you know. But I think you can't set your expectations too high or too low. You've just got to hit a middle path, and you just think of it as a relationship that's 2 miles down the road if you can, you know, and just you know, have fun, enjoy it. Take it easy, you know, kind of be kind, you know, roll through it, and if it works out, works out. If it doesn't, hopefully you can build that, you know, and just move on. There's no hard or fast rules to it, you know, but what you want to do is you do want to protect yourself a little bit, you know. Don't sort of think that, you know, the world is over or whatever, because it's not, you know. Life has many different, you know, it's a variety of experiences, you know, and that's one of them, you know. So.
But I think you're right there. There's a we all have a built-in, you know, you know, safety. We all have a built-in defense mechanism, and sometimes you know that shit can hold you back, you know. It's
I mean, I think I hate to say this, you know, because I don't usually put things by age, because I think that's a bit of a nonsense as well, you know.
I agree.
Oh, you're old enough, so you must know better. Well, no, there's a lot of people who are older that don't you know what I mean, than sort of younger people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but speaking for myself, I mean, I just, I don't have a big defence mechanism these days, you know. I try to look at things in a logical way when they come to me, you know, and so I don't feel the need to defend myself like that, you know. I really do take things as they come. Yeah. You know, of course, if it's really serious stuff as a more general, that does have a heavy impact on not only me, you know, but the world around me, then sure, you know, I'll deal with it accordingly. But day-to-day life stuff, I am really quite easy going, you know. I'm really philosophical about stuff. You know, so.
Is that? Have you always been that way, or is that life? Is that the years on the road that have kind of developed that?
No, it's not. You know, it makes nothing to do with the road or the fact that I'm in a bad smears person. You know, I think there are lessons to be learned in life. You know, and one thing I'm a believer, it's just a personal thing. You know, but I think if you make a mistake, and I'm not. Mistakes are all subjective, of course, you know.
Of course.
But if it's a mistake that you feel you've made, in your opinion, so if you make a mistake, you know, and you don't want to make it again, then don't make it again. Learn from it, you know what I mean? I mean, you can certainly make a mistake once or twice, maybe even 3 times. But I think once you get to that third time milestone, and you don't want it to happen again, then can't learn from it. I mean, and make a change. You know, again, that's not a moral judgment at all. You know, it's a personal thing, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, that's my attitude towards things.
And I mean, where does that come from initially? Is that from just, you know, as long as you can remember how you were raised?
Honestly, myself. You know, to be honest with you, and not my parents, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah.
You know, because it's just myself. It's just seeing the world around me and, you know, coming to a logical judgment. You know, I'm all about the sort of the logic, you know. It's just what it is to me. You know, I don't like to pin myself into the category, but I do like the kind of humanist approach to life, you know, the kind of thing that life is life and it will bring things along and you just got to deal with it accordingly, you know. And as much as nobody's perfect and we all have character quirks, you know, always try and feel things in a humane way, you know, and that includes for yourself as well, you know, towards yourself and to others, you know. So I think when you understand that, I think that gives you a very logical, quite clear, and some might say quite cold, you know, look at things, you know, which sounds like given some of the things they're doing in Napalm Death in terms of the ethos and the approach, some might say it's a bit of a contradiction, you know, but life is full of contradictions, you know, and you need that's not a bad thing necessarily, you know, in a lot of respects. So I think you just have to deal with things as they come at you accordingly. You know?
Yeah. So, I mean, would you say that makes you not a particularly spiritual person?
I'm not spiritual at all. You've hit the nail on the head, actually. I'm not spiritual at all. And people sometimes can't get their heads around that. They're like, well, I know you're not religious, and I accept that, but you must have some kind of spiritual. No, I'm not.
No.
I'm pure scientific explosion.
Your logic.
You know, chemical process sort of person. That's what I am. You know what I mean? Of course, I consider myself to be, this doesn't sound pretentious, but I consider myself to be a humanitarian. Absolutely, 100%. But I'm not spiritual. I'm not at all. I believe in the cold, hard science of things, the physics, the chemical processes, and beyond that, as a human being, at the top of the evolutionary cycle, you know, then I have the capacity to be humane and you know, and treat human beings accordingly. That's the way I deal with things as a whole, you know. So.
Yeah, it's I've always struggled with that whole spiritual thing, and we're very similar in many ways. Actually, I hadn't realised how many. it's I think I don't know. I think things are just too. I think things are too straightforward for the whole kind of spiritual journey for me. There's too much of life to be dealing with without exploring that. It might or might not be a thing.
Well, I think I would disagree with that to a point. I think that it's not that there's too much of life. It's just there's no evidence to suggest there is anything otherwise. You know, that's the point. You know,
Yeah, I mean, beautifully put. Yeah.
Life. You're totally right. Life is completely feels like a cannonball sometimes. It's rolling and you can't do anything to stop it, and that's what it is. You know, but there's to me there's no sort of alternate plane. You know, I've not seen any evidence at all. You know, I often have this discussion with my mum. You know, and I think sometimes it finds me a bit insensitive. You know, because we talk about our grandparents who were great, actually fantastic. You know, and obviously they're dead now. She says, you know, I saw your granddad at the end of my bed once. I'm sure of it. I said, Mum, I'll be completely, and obviously I'll try and be, you know, sort of very. I'm like, Mum, I'm like, that's because you're in a heightened state of, you know, emotion. You know, I said, you didn't see, you know, there's no evidence for a ghost. Oh, well, I reckon I saw it. I said, Mum, okay, you're entitled to what you think. You know, of course you are, you know, but I said, there's no physical evidence or any of that stuff, you know, in any capacity, you know, and it can be explained, you know, psychologically and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, no, well, I think, and I'm like, no, that's fine, you know, but I'm just telling you what I also think, you know, about the same thing, you know. So, again, I know it sounds a bit cold, you know, and maybe a bit insensitive, but
not at all. Not at all. It sounds like the kind. It sounds like the kind of conversation I'd have with my mum, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it's good when, but it's great. You know, I mean, my mum's 83 now, and it's great to be out. It's great to when they're, you know, getting towards the latter years as we all are, really. But the conversations you end up having sometimes, the wisdom. I mean, my mum told me the other day that she went down central London for the celebrations at the end of the Second World War, and Churchill got out of his car in front of them to wave to the crowds, and she was like about 2 feet away. And I was like, "What was it like?" She said, "It was like the Beatles and Elvis and everybody all arriving at once."
Right.
And I was just like, "Fucking, where were these stories?" Do you know what I mean? Yeah, you got any more of these?
Yeah, sure. But yeah, well.
You know,
yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, different things mean different things to different people, of course. You know what I mean? So
yes, yeah.
I'm not sure really if I've ever had any of those kind of revelatory things. You know, I mean, I've had some fucking crazy shit happen to me down the years. You know, one thing or another, and I mean, you know, certainly a different kind of thing. I was there when like Jeffrey Dahmer got arrested. You know, I was like there, you know, on the street, you know.
What?
Yeah, I was there in Milwaukee when it all went down. Yeah.
You're joking.
Yeah, no, I was there, you know. So, and obviously I didn't know till afterwards, you know. But yeah, I was there when all the fucking police and FBI and everybody just came from nowhere, you know. So it's pretty wild, you know. But,
what were you doing out there? Were you just playing out there?
Well, it's a gig. It's the gig. the Milwaukee, the Ray Ballroom's right next to that hotel where they eventually caught up with him, you know, and that stuff. So yeah, it's pretty wild.
That would have been too much of a coincidence if they'd, like, you know, nicked him on the same day you were doing a gig or something like that. You'd have been.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You know, that's what happened when we were there. You know, doing a gig. So.
Fuck me, that is insane.
So things happen like that. You know, you're in a certain place at a certain time. You know?
Yes, but but if you're a logical human being, you put that down to this thing called coincidence. You know.
Yeah, it's just coincidence. You know, you're always going to be somewhere. You know what I mean? You know, you're always going to be somewhere. So
yes.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it is. There's been a few things. You know, I've been at a couple of fairly significant events. You know, that, yeah, I mean, I can't always recall, you know, the certain ones, but yeah, I've been at a couple of things. You know, so,
I know, but
so, yeah.
It is one of those things, though. It's I don't know, you know. that is so bizarre being, there when Jeffrey Dahmer's being arrested and all the rest of it. But like you said, I heard another phrase the other day, which was, wouldn't it be a coincidence if there weren't any coincidences?
Yeah.
And you start down that whole fucking downward spiral. Yeah. There's the whole conversation that you end up wondering whether you had it or not.
Yeah. All good amateur psychology stuff, don't I?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the old, you do realise that if you had this dream, then that means you're worried about this, and it's like, no, not at all.
No. I mean, I do get the point that obviously, if you're a student of psychology or anything like that, there are process. If you're measuring from the electrical impulses of the brain, I think there are. Obviously, I'm not a scientist, to that degree, or even to a fraction of that degree, But it's like I can understand if you sort of studying it in that way, I can see where you could draw conclusions, But I think in terms of ethereal kind of assessment and stuff, I don't think you can come to a conclusion. How can you? There's no basis for the science of that stuff, So,
well, that's why we've
got... And the human brain is still not understood, to any great degree. Actually, it's a huge, great mystery still, the human brain, So.
Well, there's so many great mysteries, isn't there? There's the human brain, there's, the oceans. I mean, we still haven't discovered the oceans, and yet we're determined to fly off into space and see what's there, and we don't even know what's here yet.
Yeah.
I'm watching...
Yeah, I mean... Sorry, go on, mate.
I was just going to say, watching some of the new what's his name, Richard Attenborough stuff is just fucking amazing.
David Attenborough. I know there's a new one, Seven Worlds, something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, there's species out there that we wouldn't see, in our day-to-day life. That come up from time to time. And I mean, it's an incredible world out there, no question. And, we are the top of the evolutionary chain,
Absolutely.
for now, and so therefore, sort of sentient being, kind of society and all the rest of it must be incredible, obviously we know certain things, but we don't know the whole story, and they would maybe possibly have the struggles and the highs and the lows that we have, in a different way.
Absolutely.
Obviously, it's probably more cutthroat in the animal kingdom anyway, because the survival is always on a bit of a knife edge, with such a lot of species.
Well, the thing is, if you're in nature and you exist, you've already won, haven't you? You're not dead.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Yeah.
So it's basically, it's the music business with creatures.
Sorry, mate.
It's the music business with creatures, basically.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, is it Russia you just got back from?
Did Russia and the States back to back.
Lovely. With 1 day in between, I do believe.
2 days in between, yeah. 1 day to get back and sort of get your bearings and then leaving the next day, yeah.
So the States, who was that with?
It was with Municipal Waste, Sick of It All, and an opening band called Take Offence. So it was a little bit of a tricky tour, to be honest, because our bass player wasn't able to get out there. He got his visa, and he was some problems with his visa. And once we were there, we got a replacement guy, and once we were there, I actually broke my ankle up halfway through the tour. And so, I was interested,
That doesn't sound like the kind of tour that is. It sounds more of a chore than an achievement.
Well, I mean, you've still got to make it. Napalm has always been very resilient, and we've had some fucking shit happen down the earth, to be honest. But we've just kind of plowed through, and this one was a bit testing as well. But It could have been worse, it definitely could have been worse. We just got on with it, really get on with it. try and make the gigs the best for the people that are, bothering to pay to come to the door. And try and do.
That's a good little bill, though, and it's kind of like you've gone from one extreme to the other, from doing the dates with Slayer to then doing those dates. Every gig for Napalm must represent like something new, because it just seems that you're impossible to pin down, you're impossible to keep in one lane.
Well, here's the thing. The thing with Slayer is a one-off. Those things don't come along very often. We're a band that's we're independent. We're very independent, very sort of self-contained, and we don't have that sort of appeal of what a lot of bands do. In terms of putting us on the bill, because for a lot of bands we're just so chaotic and noisy. A lot of bands just don't want to go near it. And that's it is what it is. I didn't get into music to elevate ourselves. Yeah, let's get on these really big bills. It's not why I did it, and that's not what I do with Napalm Death. But it was nice to be asked, and it was nice to do it. We definitely picked up some people, I think, along the way who hadn't sort of really heard of what we do, the sort of thing we do. But equally, there was also a lot of people that were just like standing there like, what the fuck is this? So there was a little bit of that as well, which I get it, and I fully endorse, actually. So that's I think part of the thing with Napalm is, certainly on a sonic level, we also get a kick out of annoying people as well, So the more noise we can make, the better, really. And so therefore, we fit into anything. We do a lot of metal bills. We do a lot of other things. We do a lot of sort of indie rock things as well, and we play raves occasionally. And I like that. It keeps things interesting. I'm not interested in being one or two dimensional. I want to do as much as we can if we have the luxury of being able to do that. So.
And if that stuff comes, does that stuff come to you, or do you, do you say to your agent, keep an eye out for interesting stuff, or how does it come together?
It's a two-way thing. But usually it comes to us. You can keep your eye out for stuff all day long, but it doesn't mean that people are going to touch you with shit sticks sometimes, usually it comes to us, with a few things down there that come to us, and then you sort of look at it and you go, all right, let's do it or let's not do it, So, usually things come to us. And long may it continue if it's different stuff and a wide palette of different things. Then it keeps me happy. I don't want to do the same thing over and over. It's like I know a lot of bands don't have a choice in that matter, but Napalm does. It's got a diversity of appeal. It seems to have anyway, and I'm quite happy with that. I like that. It's nice to be to have that sort of spread.
Well, yeah, because it kind of puts you in a. It's kind of like you're in your own scene. I don't envisage you as part of a scene.
No, that's really nice of you to say so. I don't wish to be arrogant, or don't. Hopefully, people listening don't take it like that. It's not meant like that. I don't consider us to be a level above everybody else. It's not about that at all. But on the other side of things, I don't want to be pigeonholed. A lot of bands are content to be pigeonholed. There's a lot of cliche around music, and some of it's just a bit boring. You know what I mean? And it's just like you really don't want to be pinned down like that. You want to be able to spread out a little bit. And sure, do the things in music that people like about you, but like try some different things as well. Napalm, as I've always said, as long as what we're trying to do is abrasive and confrontational and all these different things, then that's fine. Then within those parameters, you can try different things, and don't just keep making the same album over and over again, because that's just like if the idea of Napalm is to be non-conformist, then surely keep doing something that's about as conformist as it gets. You know?
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of which, you coming round to album time again yet?
Yeah, there's an album done. It's in the can, but we're working on the mix right now, and we've had a bit of a setback because I've just found out about a week ago from Shane, who was sitting in on the mix because he didn't have his visa to come to the States. He told me that the computer system at the studio is like just blown up basically. So that there's a bit of a halt. It's ground to a halt a little bit, but we'll commence with it. You know, so we're looking to get an album out first half of next year. You know, and it has been a long time by our standards, and I don't feel comfortable with that. But it is what it is. You know, there's been a few things, unforeseen things along the way that have held things up. You know, so but what can you do? You know, it'll come out soon, you know. So.
Well, look, you're talking to a guy who's just released the first album for 29 years, mate. So, you know.
Yeah.
Hardly prolific. So,
well, yeah.
You know,
sure.
you are literally the opposite. But I mean, it's fucking awesome. It's just the fact that it is just, you're so consistent. You're so consistent. One of the most reliable parts of any scene out there. There must be a certain. I mean, how old is the album now to you since you finished recording it?
Well, I mean, I'm never like that. You know, I don't look back at the albums I've done and go, God, that's old. Now, if anything, I would say like the first couple of albums I did, I just would have done things in a slightly different way. Yeah. Which is not to say I'd change those albums, go back and change them, because they're as any album is from any band, big or small or start-up band.
Yeah.
But what you did at that point, at any particular point, is a document in time.
It's a piece of time. Exactly.
It's
a piece of time.
I just think it is what it is. And, you know, but that being said, you know, again, going back to the learning process in life, there are things I would have done differently at the time. You know, had I known what I know now about making albums, or what I consider to be a good way to make albums, everybody's, you know, good way of making albums. You know, there are things I would have done differently. I found some of it, because obviously I'm a lyricist, so I found some of the lyrics at points in the early to mid period of period in Napalm I find a bit naive. You know, some of the ones I written.
Yeah.
You know, I would have written them stylistically. I would have written them a bit differently. You know, but there you go. You know.
Yeah, well, again, like I say, it's just there's nothing you can do about it, and it is what it is. But you're absolutely right. I never ever understand why bands re-record albums, other than for, and I don't think this works for me as a reason, which is, oh well, you know, that album is owned in perpetuity by our old label, but you know, if we record it, we own the master, and it's like, well, so basically, it's just a product now, then.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, you know, look at it logically. Why do people choose to re-record albums? Because they're classic albums. So then, if it's a classic album, how can you hope to exceed? You know, I mean, you're on a loser from the start.
Yeah.
Every band I know that's done it, I've asked people's opinion. They've gone, yeah, well, it's good and it's a different flavour because of the, you know, so many years on the record. But it's not the same. Why would you want to do that? You know, knowing that myself, why would I want to go and do that? You know.
Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. You know, don't get me wrong. We've been asked to do it. You know, or it's been mooted as an idea, not by people internally within the band, but by people around us.
Yeah.
You know? And we just said, why the fuck would I want to do that? That'd be silly. You know what I mean? So, just not interested.
Yeah, it's just a creatively dead thing to do. You know, it's just kind of like, you know what I mean? It's like, right, let's go back and learn this again, shall we? And just no.
For me, you know, everybody's going to have a different opinion on that, but it's like that's my thing in terms of. Yeah, I can only speak to Napalm Death. I certainly didn't want to do that, you know. So.
Yeah, well, I having heard the re-record of the first Suicidal album, I was just like, oh God, no. And I've heard a few since, and I don't want to name names, but that one particularly felt like, I felt like I'd been personally abused.
Yeah, I love that first Suicidal album myself. So yeah, I haven't heard the re-record. Actually.
Oh, don't do it.
Sure, I really want to.
Yeah, no, don't. Just fucking don't do it. It's really,
the only thing I would say, what I do like remasters when they are actually different remasters in terms of the sound has been vastly improved.
Yes.
I listen to a lot of remasters and I go, what? It doesn't sound any different. You just put a couple of echoes, a couple of bit of reverb on the vocals here and there.
Yeah, a little bit more bottom end.
Yeah, it doesn't sound any different. That being said, I can give you one example. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with this band, but there was a really good, fast hardcore band from Nottingham who were around at the same time as Napalm.
What were they called? Heresy. Fucking hell! I came and saw when I saw Napalm Death. It was before you were in them, and they were playing with Heresy at the Nottingham Garage.
Yeah, I was kicking about at that point, and myself, and they were fucking brilliant. I mean, I love that band.
Me too.
And so they just remastered the Face Up To It album, which is the 30-year anniversary of it last year. And the original, it's great, but it just sounds like somebody recorded it in the bottom of the toilet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when they redid it, to me, it sounds really good. A lot of people have said, the drums are too loud. Now they've remixed it, remastered it. But to me, it needed that anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The drums are loud, definitely. But when I take it as a whole, the remaster to me sounds really good. And I've been playing that a lot lately. It really means a lot to me. I get off on hearing that again. So.
Well, I'll go looking for that because that will be that'll blow some cobwebs around. Cobwebs away.
If you like that era of UK sort of hardcore.
I remember Heresy. I had their stuff, and they were excellent.
So I would definitely thoroughly recommend anybody that like that album to get it. It's a 30th anniversary remaster or whatever. It's easy enough to find.
Yeah, no, I will dig that out.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of remasters myself. Re-recording, no, but remasters, yes.
Remasters. If there is a patent difference, between the original and the new one, that I can understand. But as I said, I've listened to some things. I'm like, am I sure they actually went and did something with this? Because it doesn't sound any fucking different.
I had the opposite experience with a band called Warrior Soul. Their first
I know that band.
Yeah. And the first few albums that I really liked that were on Geffen originally, and I got the remasters and I just bought them blindly. And fucking hell, what a mistake that was! They've been done really badly. As in, let's just crank the bottom end up. Let's just turn everything up, and it sounds horrendous.
Yeah. Well, see, from a band like that, I don't understand it because their whole thing was they were very, very quirky. They had a lot of things going on that other bands just weren't doing at the time.
Yeah.
And so then why would an innovative band like that in their own field then go and do something like that? It doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean?
It's really weird because they're just fucking terrible. I mean, it's not like, I don't know what, it's not one of those where you go, well, speaking as you were saying earlier, inverted commas, a musician, speaking of musician, listening to that, to me, they've gone down a route that I wouldn't have gone down. It's just, that's shit. There's something's gone wrong.
It's that bad. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, fuck me, that's terrible.
No, I get it.
But you were mentioning the Slayer thing earlier, saying that was a bit of a kind of one-off. Was that one of those things that just kind of, that just came along and you went, oh, right, that's cool. We
didn't expect it. I thought it was a joke at first, actually. I thought it was like a practical joke or something, when I heard we'd been offered it, I was just like, really? seriously, you know, and it was, yeah, I mean, it all turned out to be as it was. And yeah, I think what it was, as far as I understand it, although, you know, it's just what I've heard, I think, like, Tom Rao's brother is a big Napalm fan, I think, and he sort of spoke up about having us when they were looking for bands. You know, I think they wanted to get a lineup of bands across all the farewell bits of the tour that they've done, who were considered to be quite sort of innovators in the field, I suppose.
Yeah,
so that's what I've heard anyway. I'm only saying what I've heard, you know.
Yeah.
And so that's why Napalm got asked to do it. So yeah, I mean, but I dealt with it. We dealt with it as we would any other gig, no different. You know, we just went in there full on. You know, obviously all the ethos as well. That's what stuff we talk about on stage. That same thing. Nothing any different. You know. And,
yeah.
Yeah. You know, just saw how it went, and that was that. Yeah.
And were you just allowed to, just get on with it and do your own thing?
I wouldn't let anybody tell us otherwise, you know. So, yeah, you know, just Napalm's Napalm, and we're going to do what we need to do, and, you know, nobody's going to stop us from, you know, expressing ourselves as we need to, musically or otherwise, you know. So, yeah, we didn't know, but, you know, I have to say that for a tour, that was quite a sizable tour. I mean, it was amphitheatres, you know, in a lot of places. And I do have to say that the crew and the people around their band were brilliant. You know, couldn't ask. I've always been very kind of cynical, you know, about those kind of things to ourselves. It's just not me. You know, it's just not the way I sort of go about things. But they were brilliant to us. You know, they were really kind to us. They never told us, oh, you can't do this and you can't do that, and you know, we were given free rein. You know, obviously you got to be on stage on time. You got to be off stage on time. You've got to be things like that. You know, of a technical nature. But anything else besides there was no issues.
That's great, and but I guess also there's a sign of, like, you know, a tour where the entire lineup is bands who've really kind of, you've been invited along by Slayer to be there, have earned the right to be there. So, you know, did it feel like a particularly kind of, you know, inverted commas special event?
No, not really. I mean, I would take issue with earned the right to be there. You know, I think that bands in general are very, very, you know, apply themselves. You know, and I don't think anybody's got right over anybody else, really. You know, I genuinely think that, you know, and so it wasn't a special event to me. You know, I'm sure some of the venues who turn up, I was going, right, you know, but then everything else is just deal with it as I would any other gig. You know what I mean? I know some people might listen to that and go, yeah, right, you know what I mean, but it's not my nature. You know what I mean? I don't overstate things like that, you know, I just don't. You know, I just go about doing what I got to do, you know. But the people that can be bothered to listen to Napalm Death in a live situation, I'm going to do my fucking best, you know what I mean? And that's all I'm focused on, nothing else, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So whilst it's nice to get and do these other bits and pieces, ultimately, you're all about what you do, and you have you know, would you say you have a particular demographic, as it were? Because I can't think of one.
I hate those terms, to be honest with you. I can't stand it, you know. And markets, you know.
I was just gonna say, let's have a marketing meeting, Barney.
Yeah. I can't stand that stuff, you know. I just, you know, I joined Napalm. Napalm to me was an organic, like, independent band, you know, and I love that organic nature of it, you know, and things like the, you know, the market demographic, to me, it just commoditizes, like, and I know, obviously, you know, as a band, we're out there selling CDs, you know, selling T-shirts, you know, stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, you know, I understand that, you know, but But when you're sort of calculating your actions based upon demographics and that, I think it's bollocks. You know what I mean? I just don't. To me, I hope I never get like, just fucking shoot me. You know, get like that. It's just not. It's just not my. It's just not my thing. You know, that sort of thing. I mean, here's a good way to put it. Basically, when you get down to meticulous, you know, like Napalm gets asked to do 10-day plus tours of countries that other bands would even be sort of reluctant to go in and do 2 or 3 dates, you know, but Napalm will go in and do 10, 15 dates. People go, why are you doing that? You know, there can't be any sort of mileage in doing a 15-day tour of the Czech Republic. And it's like, well, hang on a minute. People have asked us to do it. We're not just doing it and turning up and going, well, this might work or it might not because people don't know we're here, sort of thing. Well, no, we got invited to go there. So if we got invited, there's people that want to see us. So go and fucking do it. You know what I mean? That's it. You know, there's no devil after it. I mean, I understand what you're saying in terms of you're probably asking me what kind of spread of ages that we get. And the answer to that is fucking everybody.
Yeah.
And all points in between, you know. I mean, we really do. You know, it's not, we don't get like a predominance of people in the 20 age range. We don't get a predominance of people in the 50 age range. It's just everything in between, you know. And I'm delighted to say more and more so, you know, a gender mix. You know, we get equally women and men, you know, at our gigs, you know, and it's fantastic, you know.
Yeah, well, that is something that has changed over the years, and that is, you know, is awesome. Have you noticed any changes recently? You know, where given the Me Too movement, have you noticed an influx of more female audience members at your gigs or anything like that?
I mean, like females, women could always be confident to come to our gigs, I think, and know that they're going to be safe, you know, in terms of the various things that happen when you come to a Napalm gig, you know. So, yeah, it's never a problem. I think it would be true to say that you see a lot more girls or females towards the front of the gig now, and visibly more confident in being able to express themselves, you know, because there may have been a reluctance in the past, but I think now they do. Or it seems to me, somebody could argue with me on that point, but I think that I do see that, and it's, of course, it's entirely fucking welcome, you know, because I look at Napalm's ethos, you know. Surely you could deduct from that we want everybody to fucking engage, you know, and it doesn't matter who you are, what you look like, what your gender is, what your sexuality, doesn't matter. None of that stuff matters, you know. You're all fucking welcome equally, you know. So.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And look, that sounds like a really good place to leave it. I say leave it. I've got a few subscriber questions for you first. Before I let you go, but for the meantime, thanks a lot, Barney. No
problem at all, mate.
Sorry, I said me and Barney? Of course, what I meant was Barney and I. Yes, as you heard at the beginning there, we had a little bit of an issue actually getting the interview started. But once we did, look, there's no point me going on about what a nice, helpful, grounded, unique and thoroughly stand-up individual Barney is, because you already know, because you just listened to that. It was just really interesting to go all over the map there and really delve into all sorts of bits and pieces of being in a band, including relationships, you know, in bands and outside of bands. And there's more of that. There's some gold on the Patreon only podcast as well. But it was just great fun to do. And it's interviews like that that really make this podcast so fun to do, because I get to speak to people like Barney, and you know, we've only met once, but we got on, you know, we just hit it off straight away, and we were just chatting away. And while I was talking to him, I was thinking, do you know what, I've got to get him on the podcast, and I have, and we did, and it's awesome. So very, very pleased with that. I hope you all enjoyed it. So moving back to what's been going on in metal, My Chemical Romance are back. and are headlining Australian Download. And let's face it, that's what you do, isn't it? If you reform, you come back and you do a massive festival in Australia. That's how it works. Sorry, just getting some water there. But yeah, welcome. Good to have them back. I like My Chemical Romance, and that's pretty much why I'm mentioning it. I've got nothing else to offer on the subject other than they're back. Great. Next up, a band I don't like, Kiss. Kiss's manager says Ace Frehley and Peter Criss have been approached about taking part in Final Concert. Well, presumably they're going to find out when that is, which would be some point in 2040, no doubt. I mean, whatever. Yeah, fuck it. Don't care. Don't give a shit. Why did I even make a note of that? Moving on. This really does seem to be... This seems to be the podcast of hard rock comebacks and me talking about bands I don't like, which is not usually the case. Although I have said, that I do love Life of Agony and I've done all that, so, give me a break. But... I saw a piece about Wasp celebrating their first 4 albums. I don't know about that. Maybe the first album, which still to this day I like. Okay, I do. I wanna be somebody. Just don't get me started. I had Fuck Like a Beast, shaped 7-inch picture disc. Okay, I did. I had the first 2 Wasp albums. I was out after the Welcome to the Electric Circus. But the first 2, Final Command's got some... 'Cause I'm blind in Texas! Sorry, but I just can't do a decent Blackie Lawless impression. Although on the Patreon podcast, you will hear me do a great Neil Diamond impression. So anyway, I saw that and I thought, do you know what? I'm vaguely interested in that. I'm vaguely kind of like, I'd like to go and I don't know. So I clicked on the link to check out the dates and see where they're playing. And I got the bandwidth limit exceeded message. The server is temporarily unavailable to service your request due to the site owner reaching his or her bandwidth limit. Please try again later. I mean, what a fucking schoolboy error. They announced they're coming back, and nobody in the Wasp organisation has noticed that the subscription package with their IP is nearly at maximum, and then they've gone and fucking blown it. I haven't been back. Actually, let's do that now, shall we? Let's fuck it. Right, okay. I hadn't planned on doing this, but I haven't been back to the website because that really made me laugh. I made a note of it to talk about it on the podcast. I'll have to take the flight mode off. Take the flight mode off your computer first, Howard, you fucking idiot. Right, Wasp tour dates. Fucking hell, this is interesting stuff, isn't it? But, it still says there's no internet. No, there is internet now, you prick. Don't be a prick. There we go. Wasp tour dates, there we go. Right, Wasp Nation. Let's see if their website's working. It is! Woo! There we go! 1984 to Headless. Hits from first 4 albums. So where have they announced? Denmark, 1 show. Sweden, Norway, more Sweden, Finland, Sweden. Oh, England! Right, okay, we're doing Bristol, London, Nottingham and Newcastle. 2020, October the 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th. They'll be at Bristol, London, Nottingham, Newcastle in that order. Bristol SWX, London, the O2 Forum, Nottingham Rock City and Newcastle O2 Academy. Fucking hell. Nottingham Rock City. Wasp are playing Nottingham Rock City. It really is the fucking 80s again. Do you know what? I will be tempted to go and see that. I really, really will. So anyway, yeah, they've got their website working again. Isn't that great news? What isn't great news is the passing of Timmy Hansen, Merciful Fate bassist. Merciful Fate were definitely an early influence on Acid Rain. That's the band I'm in, by the way. New album, Age of Entitlement. Check it out. But yeah, sorry, that was classless, wasn't it? It's fucking Timmy Hansen's death. Sorry about that. You fucking cunt, Howard. Absolutely. By the way, yeah, you don't need to think at all. If you're a bit disgusted by that, you're right to be, and I'm acknowledging it. Okay, so don't get on my case about it because, well, you can get on my case about it, but all I'll do is agree with you because that was fucking out of order. Let's start again. Timmy Hansen, bassist of Merciful Fate, has died, and he was, Merciful Fate were a big influence on us. I know he was an influence on Ian, Acid Rain's original bass player. because they were one of they're one of the originals, along with the original thrash bands. Merciful Fate were around then as well, and they were doing something very different. I remember at secondary school, we all got a chance. Like they had this idea that like you could play songs in assembly. Anybody who wanted to play a song in an assembly, as long as it, like, the teachers heard it first, obviously. Yeah, duh. And Ben, the original Acid Rain drummer, played Come to the Sabbath off Don't Break the Oath in assembly, and we were all sat there going, fucking hell, this is awesome. And of course everybody who didn't like metal was just going, this is shit, this is awful, this is terrible, why would you listen to this? Let's face it, the first time for a lot of them hearing anything other than pop music, and they hear Merciful Fate, they're hearing metal with King Diamond singing. I mean, that, for some of them, it'll have drawn them towards it. For some of them, put them off for life. But yeah, anyway, I mean, a very, very sad loss, and a shame he's not going to be able to be part of the Merciful Fate reunion as well, which is something I haven't covered before. But yes, Merciful Fate are coming back, and that is going to be awesome. Hank Sherman is doing it, but Michael Denner isn't, and I don't know why, because Sherman and Denner were working together, so that must be Denner not getting on with King Diamond, or I don't know. But he's even said he wasn't asked and he didn't know it was happening. So that is fucking weird. So that's the Merciful Fate section done. Finally, well, not finally, but next, a quote from Sharon Osbourne after plastic surgery. I had this thing where they lifted up my mouth, and then for the first week, I couldn't feel my mouth. I can hardly feel my mouth now, to be honest with you. For fuck's sake! What are you doing? You're talking... They lifted up my mouth. I mean, I have said on here that it's weird about Wendy Dio redesigning her husband's face on a fucking 3D hologram, right? But this is real life. This is Sharon Osbourne talking about having her own mouth moved up. Why couldn't you have it fucking wired up? I mean, that's the obvious thing that you're all thinking. Jesus Christ, I can't even feel my mouth now. Well, that would explain why so much shit falls out of it, to be honest. Go on, Ozzy, get back out there. Get back out there and tour. Oh, you will? Oh, you're dying? Get back out on the fucking stage. I just don't have any love for that woman, in case you hadn't noticed. But anyway, it's time for another interview. It's Matt from Evile. Hey there, Matt. Matt doesn't do many interviews, and this is, I think this is first for a good long time. And we get right into it. We also get right into it on the podcast. Another 45 minutes on the Patreon podcast. Sorry, not going to mention Patreon again. Patreon.com/Howard H. Smith. Yeah, Matt and I got a chance to catch up, and it was great. You're going to hear it now. Got on like a house on fire. He's a really, really nice guy. It's fun. We've had Ol from Evile on the show. Now we've got Matt from Evile on the show. We got the brothers on the show, motherfuckers. So sit back and listen to us talking about all things Evile and thrash. Oh, and also including him calling me out on slagging them off. Oh yeah, it's all in here. Bloody technology. Yeah. Ah, there you are.
Hey.
Yeah, it's got you straight away.
Here we are. Lovely.
Lovely. So, how are you, mate?
I'm not too bad. How are you? Are you well?
I am, yes. Basking in the glory of, rattling off another album 29 years after the previous one.
It's quite a wait, isn't it, really?
It is. It's almost as long as you've been alive, isn't it? Fucking hell.
Yeah, nearly. I'm 38.
30? Oh, right, okay, you're not that young.
Oh, because I still get ID'd, but,
Oh, fuck off. I get ID'd, but that's to get into old age pensioners' homes. Yeah, so you're full kind of like 11 years younger than me, and I tell you what, do you know what? I don't tend to do a massive amount of research about my guests, which is pretty obvious from the shitty interviews that I do. But there's not much out there about you, really. I mean, other than you're a Hetfield fanboy, I pretty much know fuck all about you.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Well, we've never actually met, have we? Before we've not.
Oh, don't let that stop you. Ol and I have never met either.
No, all the internet social master though, isn't he? He's never off it. No, the weird thing is, I don't do the social media stuff.
Right.
I'm not. I don't know. I don't like the idea of blah. I did this today. Blah. I'm just not.
Yeah.
I've never ever been into that at all. So I've always just kind of kept myself to myself.
Which
but
is
whereas, you know,
right. That's
guess,
the ideal.
yeah.
That's the ideal quality in a frontman, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah. The guy who just I don't want to see anybody and just hide away. That's pretty much what I do. It's really weird because a lot of people do say that. It's like seeing two different people. It's like there's the guy who's sat backstage warming up on the guitar and warming up his vocals for 8 hours during the day, and then he goes out on the stage and he's, oh bloody hell, I don't recognise you. That happens quite a lot. But I'm just the way I am, I think.
But I hear that a lot. I've seen it with performers, but I hear it a lot as well, and see it a lot with particularly footballers. Funnily enough, a lot of people who say a lot of people say off the pitch, he wouldn't say boo to a goose, and they're like really mild mannered, and then you get them on the pitch, and they're just like gobby, sweary, pushing everyone around, telling everyone what to do, and then you get them off the pitch again, and they're
the racist and
and they're back to and they're back to normal, as it were. And maybe that's just your that's your kind of hour and a half on the pitch is up there on stage.
It could be. I mean, I've always just been. Yeah, that would make sense. It's my inner footballer, I guess.
But you're up, I guess you've kind of, you're up there with mates. You've got songs to rely on. You've got a guitar without, I don't want to kind of make this a big thing, but it's kind of like, you've got a guitar to hide behind. You've got songs.
Pretty much, yeah.
You've got songs to fall back on. You've got mates to fall back on as well. If you get it right, that is quite a support network, really. It
does work. Especially, like you got those three people to back you up. But I think they just leave me to it normally. Them buggers just leave it in the background and go, "You're the front man. You talk. You say something." It's normal. That's normally how it works. I guess I don't know. It's weird with Evile. I don't really have that kind of support thing because everyone kind of takes their roles as they are. I think Ben would absolutely love to be out from behind the kit, running around giving it his full-on Lars Ulrich. Ben's just one of them guys. He loves the attention and the spotlight. Yeah, he loves it. Whereas I just kind of, like you say, weirdly enough for a front man, just shy away from it, except when I'm on stage.
It's weird because I've often found that drummers wish they weren't stuck behind a pile of wood at the back and
smacking things. Yeah,
and it's like, why don't I get more attention? Well, have a look at that massive fucking kit. And
you did choose that.
Yeah, exactly. That's always the one. You chose it. Yeah. That's how it ended up.
Your choice, sir. Yeah. Sit down.
But the thing is, it's like it might not feel like they're supporting you, but you're all on there together. Do you know what I mean? You're all in it together. And ultimately reliant on each other, and it's that sort of teamwork ethic of being in a band. Yeah. I missed that for years doing stand up, which I still do now. It's very different. Yeah. Very different.
I do want to ask you that. That's one question I had in mind, just to ask you what is the difference to you as a frontman of a band compared to being, I guess, your own frontman as a stand-up. How does that differ? I mean, you've got to be a little more prepared, I imagine, with stand-up stuff.
The difference, mate, is night and day. The difference is ice cream and pizza. The difference is rain and shine. It's just, there is very, very little. I mean, with over 20 years of experience doing stand-up, I would say there's more transferable skills that I bring to fronting a band than there is the other way around. I mean, fronting a band is absolutely no use to you as a comedian. The skills that you get from that are non-existent. But the skills you get from
music is a lot of the work, don't it?
Yeah, but with the skills from stand-up, they do translate, because that's essentially what I'm doing between songs. But
absolutely.
But it's also like the skills of doing stand-up that I've picked up over the years. They help with knowing what to say to an audience, how to connect with an audience as well, and how to read an audience and how to read a room, and knowing what to do. I mean, we did a show a couple of years ago when we failed to get to Hammerfest because of traffic.
All right.
And Pete had managed to get us a show at the Dev. So we literally turned around on the A40, drove straight back to London, and did this like totally impromptu set at the Dev. And before we started playing, they were like, right, should we just like start with a big bang and crash up? And I was like, do you know what? Just give me 2 minutes to speak to the crowd. Because as good old years of doing comedy for free in pubs, one thing it's taught me is that you can't just start performing in a pub, expect everybody to shut the fuck up and listen when A, they didn't know you were playing, and B, it's their pub.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it was just, I just did a little kind of like a minute about, right, this is what's happened to us today. We need to fucking really, we really need to do this. So if you just want to ignore us, that's absolutely fine. But, we need to get this out of our system. And everybody was fine with it. But, years ago, I would have just been like, right, yeah, let's just fucking kick off and start playing and wonder why everybody isn't, absolutely loving it. So it's little things like that do come in handy, but that is a very one-off kind of occasion. But the ability to play a room and to read a room, that's probably the one thing I've got out of it more than anything, is being able to read a room, being able to read people, and just just have a good feel for what's right to say at the right time. But also, it's just speak to him like there's 20 people there, whether there's 200 or 2,000. I don't believe in that whole and I played it like there was 50,000 in. It's like, well, that was fucking stupid.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? And we've all played with those bands where they're totally ignoring how many people are there, thinking that that's the way to go down, and it isn't. The way to take it down is to fucking totally address the elephant in the room right off the bat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've seen it so many times, same with other bands who just you think that. I think the mindset is that if we imagine that we're playing Wacken, then it'll go great, and it kind of doesn't translate at all to either the number of people you're playing to, or even the size of the venue with the number of people in there. That it just doesn't work. And I fully understand what you mean about taming it a bit and addressing the people you're with.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, I've had people ask me, like, on tour or whatever, I was like, do you ever know what you're going to say or anything? That's like, well, no, not really. It's just a bunch of people who've gone to a gig. It's not an exam, no one's waiting. No one's waiting for, no one's waiting for, like, words of fucking wisdom. No one's waiting to be blown away by what you're going to say in the song. I mean, you've really got to fuck it up to it's like, you've just played a song, they really enjoyed it. You're going to be playing another song that they probably really enjoy. This is the fucking bit where there is no pressure. This is the bit to just go, all right, everyone having a good time? Get here all right? Yeah? When's last bus? Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just like... it's...
How's your mum?
Yeah, exactly. But funnily enough, if you said that to somebody, like, in the front, whatever, people would laugh, or people would be like, oh, is he making a mum joke or whatever? But either way, it's like, there's no ice to break. Do you know what I mean? It's like you're going out there, people know you're going to be on, people want you to play, they know your stuff. It's like, that's just, having been a comedian where you go on and people don't know who the fucking next comedian is, and you've got like 90 seconds basically to win them over or you're fucked. And, that's the thing about a comedy bill, is like, nobody goes to see so-and-so comedian unless it's like, mega, arena level. They just go to a comedy night. So whoever you are Mr. fucking Nobody when you walk on, and you've got to try and grab them, whereas in a band, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. They're all there.
Yeah.
They've come to see you.
People go for bills, don't they? They go for, several different bands at a time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I'll be the first to like, speak to somebody in one of our audiences who doesn't look like they're enjoying themselves. Do you know what I mean? Somebody's like, oh, what's up, mate? Have we not played the songs you want, or are we not really not for you?
Have you had a bad week?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But that kind of sort of down to earth, just talking to people, that is not what people expect, and it catches them off guard. Not, yeah. Catches them off guard, and it makes them instantly warm to a band, because the phrase I'm always saying is, oh, there's no airs and graces. Oh, it's like, not even talking to the audience like an audience, talking to them like friends, like people Like, how are you? How's your day? How's it going? All the rest of it. It's just, it's also, I think the day of big pompous fucking rock and roll between song banter is, well, it's got 2 years to go, and then it really is fucking dead when Kiss pack up.
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, can't happen soon enough, can it?
We'll get on to Kiss in a bit, actually. I'm just going to mention the difference, like you say, between... I was really impressed when, like yourself, you can get on a stage and you can... You don't do your homework, you just turn up and you say what you can say in between songs, because I'm much really amazed, because you've clearly got that skill to be able to do that, and that quick wit to be able to rattle that thing off. Well, on the complete flip side is, with me, I cannot do that at all. You'd be amazed how prepared I need to be.
Yeah, but you see,
gig things. I can do some, but I've got a general idea of what I'm going to be saying before we do it. Normally, I wish I was as quick as that. I really do.
No, well, the thing is that it's like you say, it's a gift. Maybe it is a gift, but I've been working on that gift for 20 years.
Well, it's a mix. You've taken that gift and you've expanded on it.
Well, exactly. So what I'm going to say to you is, you're no different. You're absolutely no different. It's a case of, right, well, if you need to know what you're going to say and that makes you feel more comfortable, then fine. But start getting out of your comfort zone and pushing yourself about what you're going to say and what you're going to talk about. Yeah. And also be confident in the fact that if somebody shouts something out, that you can fucking deal with it. Even if we're going into the realms of stand-up comedy now, and I think some of that would help you a lot, and some of the exercises and stuff. But just for instance, dealing with hecklers. When you start out in comedy, a lot of people you find your heckle put down line. You find that line that is going to work. And however you find it, it might be one night by accident, whatever, you use it. So it's as you go, it's worth picking these. It's worth collecting these things as you go, and having like a standard. If somebody just shouts something stupid out, you've got a standard sort of put down for it. Do you know what I mean? Shut up, Dad, or the wife's in again, or something like whatever, ha ha ha. But whatever it is, and it's like, and before you know it, you'll have structured kind of like, okay, if somebody gobs off, I've got that, and I've got that, and I've got that, and if there's this, I've got that, and before you know it, you learn that, and you go, right, they're my things, they're what I know, and what you will find is, over time, you will rely less on the notes, and eventually, without even noticing, you won't need them, because you just develop that side of your craft. And the only thing that is holding you back from doing that is not gig enough, because you need to be out doing it as a stand-up. You need to be out doing it every night.
Oh, absolutely, that's it. Yeah, that's one of the problems we have. Yeah.
And it's because I know what it's like. 'Cause we're in similar kind of touring cycles at the moment, and have been the last few years, and you feel like you've absolutely got this nailed, and it's fucking awesome on the last night of the tour.
Yeah, that's it. Always the way, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, they always say, don't never go and see a band on the first 2 nights of the tour. They always say the same thing, don't they?
Unless it's us, because in which case we'll be fucking up even more than we fuck up the other nights. So you might want to come and see more fuck ups.
Yeah, they're more entertaining that way. Come along.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, so that was the bloke from the label trying to get hold of me. So I just had there was a beep beep on the line there. So
get rid of him. You don't need him.
Well,
we do actually. That's yeah.
Yeah. It's weird though, it's horses for courses. Like I said, we're all different.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the way you do things is probably completely different to the way I do things and be comfortable with it. It's many people find many different ways of doing these kind of things. And, and then people have different confidence levels with it. They've got different experiences. It's it's a really weird thing when you talk to, like, I spoke to other frontmen about it as well, and there's some people who just, like I say, there's that bit of a gift about it, there's that natural talent of doing it, there's just natural showmen at doing it, and some people have to really, really work at it. There's people in between who have to, rely on both, and it's nowhere near the same thing for two people. It's an interesting one to go at, being a frontman. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just something that I guess it does. I guess it. I was going to say comes naturally. Well, as being as riddled as I am with ADHD, then that's hardly a surprise.
A bit of natural assistance there.
Yeah, exactly. I
think it's my it's the, like you say, the Hetfield fanboy in me that comes out when I get on stage. That's what, as daft as that sounds, and as cliche as that sounds as well, because Hetfield has so many people's inspiration for doing that kind of thing. And the problem is when people have that inspiration and they wear it on stage as well, and you can see someone just go, Hetfield. I've done it so often, and I catch myself doing it still when I'm on stage. I just think, shit, don't do that. Hetfield to do that, and people will see straight through it. So many times I've just be Matt Drake instead. Don't be James Hetfield. That's one of the problems I've had.
Really?
Yeah, so many times I've caught myself doing it, where just like the way you stand or the way you put your shoulders, and like, I grew up listening to Metallica. I did the classic cliche thing. It's all Ben's fault. I'll blame Ben for it. He lent me Master of Puppets when I was probably 13, and the first metal song I ever heard was Battery.
Right.
And from that point onwards, you get locked in that daft Metallica phase where you just go, this is the only band there ever will be. And I did that for a few years before I really snapped out of it and thought, bloody hell, there's some of the bands that I've got to listen to.
So hang on, can I just stop you there? So what was it like when you get a chance to record your first album with Flemming Rasmussen then? You must have been just fucking jizzing off every day. Yeah,
mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. Especially when we got to the point when we were there and we were using some of the same... we used the same sound desk that the recorded Puppets with, the exact same desk. We were using some of the same mics, some of the same effects units, and it was pretty awesome. And then we're sat in Fleming's house, and he's telling the story. Well, we were him and his wife and his kids. We're all grown up now. But they were telling the stories about how then Cliff Burton's just sat there and coming out of the shower, washing the hair and eating food, and just like it's completely natural. And you never hear these things in normal day life, and you're there being told them by the people who were there. And it was really surreal. It was awesome, but surreal. I think it was probably a good thing for us, getting that much, because we've always had this Metallica thing follow us around, because we started as a Metallica covers band, and we've always been influenced by them individually as well as a band. When we're writing songs, they're our main influence. They have been for years. But as soon as we did the first album, we made a really conscious effort to step away from it, and that's why the second album's so hideously different than the first one. But we really did try to be quite self-aware and just think, you know what, we are influenced by Metallica. Let's try not being, and see how it goes. But yeah, it was really strange to just be there using all their gear and recording the album with the guy who did Master of Puppets. It was awesome, but really weird at the same time, because it drops that curtain as well. I don't know if you had the same thing, like when you were younger, you go and watch bands, like your favourite bands that you see. There's this weird kind of, I don't know if there's a word for it, it's really hard to explain, but there's a curtain there, and you only see what's shown to you, what's given to you by the band. Like, you only see them on stage, you only see them in interviews, and you don't get...
peeking behind the curtain, yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit, the Wizard of Oz thing happens when you get out there on tour and you see these bands and you see how the backstage thing works, you see how all the bits fit together.
Oh, yeah.
And it drops that curtain, and all of a sudden you're there with it, seeing how it all works, and it kind of, if you're not careful, you let it lose its appeal of seeing bands. And a few people have said the same thing, that they got, when they started touring and they got into playing with bigger bands, that curtain just dropped completely, and all of a sudden it just lost the magic of seeing bands live. I think it's kind of sad, actually, but I was always kind of careful to. So, yeah, we know how it works. You've done big tours and all. You know the score. If you kind of let it get to you too much, you can let it lose that magic of seeing bands live and have that presentation given it, because you're looking at it going, I know they did that, and it kind of kills it a bit. So we were kind of careful just to not lose that connection, I guess, with the presentation. That it sounded better in my brain. You know? My mouth ruined it a bit.
Didn't get through to the label. So if he calls while we're on the phone, I'll give you a shout.
Absolutely fine. I remember my point, by the way, as well. I did have one about the Metallica. I remember what I was going to say. We did the album, like with all that Metallica stuff going on around us. It became a heck of a lot easier to see all that kind of, like you say, when you look at bands as a presentation of what you're seeing and what they let you see of that band. You can look up to these people and go, wow, this is amazing. But when we did that Metallica producer thing with Lennon, the album, it made it a heck of a lot easier to see it from a different angle. So instead of looking at that band as, wow, we want to be like you, it became a heck of a lot easier to step away from it and say, right, we want to be Evile now. Without, on my point about losing the magic of seeing bands, that was always something I kept in my head about. I've seen behind the scenes now it works, but I don't want that to ruin how I go and watch bands live. Because like I say, I've spoken to a few people who have done that. They've got behind the scenes, they've seen these big bands play, and they said I don't enjoy live shows as much anymore because I'm in a band touring, and it's kind of strange that. I kind of get what they mean, but it was kind of strange. But yeah, that was my point. It was just easier to step away from wanting to be like Metallica after we kind of got that bit of experience of their world, I guess. It made it easier for us to just kind of go, right, let's be Evile. We know what not to do now. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, I don't know. It's hard to relate for me because I've never really been that fixated on one band. He says, as those words come out of my mouth, thinking I was a total fucking Marillion geek when I first started out.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, my dad bloody loves Marillion. Yeah.
Oh, mate, honestly,
yeah,
Fish is my hero. Had him on the podcast 2 years ago. Oh my god, it was fucking.
Oh, wow. Did you cry a little bit?
Oh, I cried, but not from where you'd expect. But yeah, I guess the crossover there is that there isn't a great deal of crossover between fucking Marillion and playing in a thrash band. So I wasn't exactly I as long as I wasn't really in a position to be able to sort of go totally all out Fish being in a thrash band, and I think that helped because otherwise I would have done.
But you'll have had influences though, won't you? What?
Oh, hang on a sec. Right, I've got the label on the other line. I'll call you straight back.
All right, go for it.
All right, mate.
All right, cheers. Hello.
And we're back again. Fucking hell. It was not that important. It's all sorted. Hurrah. Oh, you there? What happened? And again. I don't know what happened there, mate. Sorry about that.
No worries, all right.
Cool.
We're back. We're there.
We're all sorted. Marvellous.
Lovely. Yeah, your influences. Because you got, playing in Acid Rain. Were your main influences when you started?
Well, Fish from Metallica was my own personal influence, but influences musically, it was kind of boring. It was the Big Four because the Big Four were like, well, they were the only fucking four at the time.
They were, yeah.
And then other bands crept in. Merciful Fate crept in very soon. Voivod, just everybody who was around in that era. and just constantly learning as well. And I mean, fucking hell, then I discovered the Dead Kennedys, and that was that was just awesome. I'm, massive fan of the Dead Kennedys. Well, that's where Moshkinstein comes from, Frankenchrist, Moshkinstein. It's yeah. So they took the front. They took the front of Frankenstein, and I took the end of Frankenstein. So they got Frankenchrist, and I got Moshkinstein. So
shared it up nice and equal. That sounds fair.
Absolutely. There are no original ideas. I'm sure Jello Biafra nicked the idea for Frankenchrist from somebody else. So it's
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was so early doors. There was so few people doing it that it was just the big four. But then things just started. I remember me and Gaz going on trips on the train to Leeds, to Virgin in Leeds, to get imports, and not knowing what you'd find. And I found DRI crossover that way. I found DRI dealing with it. I found it that way. I found Bestial Devastation by Destruction that way, which is fucking awful.
Oh yeah.
Awful, awesome. Some absolute classics, but purely we just found them because they just happened to be kicking around in the record shop, and that's specifically why we went, was to just get all of these albums, and then it would be like seeing what T-shirts those bands were wearing, and then go and look for the band of the T-shirt.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up buying Suicidal Tendencies' debut album from Shades, having never heard it and having no idea what they sounded like, other than all of these cool bands are wearing their shit, they must be good. And then I got the first album and I was like, this is fucking amazing. I was so chuffed with it, because I've always liked my punk, and yeah, I mean, that was just phenomenal. And that's just, it's how it all came. It's how, I mean, Game Over. I bought that from Shades as soon as it came out, because obviously, you knew who was who in the band and all the rest of it. And within 18 months of that arriving on the doorstep, I was on tour with them. So it was kind of bizarre, really. It is.
Look at the difference between when you guys were doing it at that time, when it's all coming out, you're absorbing it, aren't you? As it happens, you're there absorbing it all. And when you compare it to, say, us, all this has happened. It's happened 20 years before, 25 years before we were around. So for bands like us, it's a completely different kind of absorption.
Yeah.
Of that material for us, because it's like there's a heck of a lot more, probably a lot more emulation going on with us guys than there was you guys at the time, because you were there in the middle of it all, whereas us young'uns, where they're kind of looking up to it all, going, wow. and it's I think that's probably one of the big differences between being there at the time as an influence compared to influences on us, as kids.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I think there is I think the biggest difference in eras is that at the time we were very much a case of, we'll just do whatever the fuck we want. I mean, that's why there's fucking timbale steel drums in Humanoia and shit like that. It's just like, basically, you just threw everything in there and went, like, there's no rules, it doesn't matter, you just did what you did. Whereas for you guys coming along all those years later, it is like there are rules. It is like there are, like, well, this is how you write a thrash song. This is what it needs to contain. And again, going back to Humanoia, I mean, it's 3 verses. Who the fuck does 3? In fact, it's 4 verses in total. Who the fuck does 4 different verses? Do you know what I mean? It's like, no one.
Nobody outside of King Crimson, anyway.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So, but it's just like, I remember I went and recorded guest vocals on Goddess with Cerebral Scar, and we were recording with Russ Russell. And and we finished I finished the second verse and the second chorus. No, that was it, about third verse, third chorus, and he goes, and I goes, right, that's it. And he goes, there's still another minute and a half of this song to go. I went, yeah, I know. Old school, isn't it? And he just laughed and was like, But there's a whole minute and a half to go. How can the vocals have stopped? And it's like, you don't mess with the past, mate. That's just how it it's how it is, how it was, and how it ever shall be. So I do get that, because I'm always ranting about like new school thrash bands, you know, being on the back cover of their album with their tight jeans and their freshly ironed Pleasure to Kill Creator t-shirt and their perfect mullet and the baseball cap and the leather jacket, and I just think, guys, we need to stop this stagnating and disappearing like it did last time. And if all you do is consistently ape the past, that's what's going to happen again.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we thought the exact same thing. I mean, as I'm well within that pool of perpetrators, but only we were really conscious about the exact same thing. Like when you start as a new thrash band these days, like you're emulating these, you know, your gods, so to speak, the big shots, and all the bands of you know, the same as us. We started doing it. It was really weird. We started doing it at the exact same time in different places. We weren't aware of each other. Like there was Headless Cross, Pitiful Rain, Saragon, a bunch of other ones, but we all just kind of went and did gigs in different places and discovered each other. And you guys are doing this too. That's interesting. And when it came to, like I say, we did the first album where we're so fully guilty of, you know, the back cover with the, you know, your Dead Energy high tops, your leather jackets. That's them, the grave. That's it. That's exactly what it was. It was the retro thrash thing. And it's like, as soon as we did that, we looked at ourselves and went, we thought the exact same thing. We thought, if we just copy, you know, I think a lot of the band's discipline was, let's recreate the 80s.
Yeah.
And we heard that, and we saw it in the bands we were playing with, and we just thought, you know what? If we do the same thing, we'll disappear. We'll just get lumped in and disappear completely. We made a conscious effort to go, let's look at ourselves and let's just be more natural with it. Like, let's wear flares. We're like wearing flares. so we're there, like, the third album, we're there wearing flares.
Fucking hell, really? That was seriously.
Yeah.
Seriously,
yeah,
was that a big conscious decision in the band? Let's all wear flares.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Let's wear flares.
Band meeting, flares or no flares.
It was one of those things, like, let's just turn up, individuals who would do, and I think it was Joel, because Joel's older than us when he joined after we lost Mike. He kind of brought that a lot more of that sensibility with him of just, you know, fuck it, turn up in what you want to wear. So we kind of took that on as well. And we, like I said, we consciously avoided that 80s retro thrash look. Let's just not do that, because it's going to kill us if we keep doing it. And we don't want to be the same as the other bands who were doing that let's recreate the 80s thing.
You do realise that you have just cast Joel as Cliff Burton in this movie of your band. The older dude on bass who just said, fuck it, let's just wear what we want, and he introduced flares into the band. Are you fucking serious?
Hey, I can't avoid this bloody metallic thing. Everything we do just follows us around. We cannot avoid it.
That's fucking awesome.
It's how we do. We just decided to let's not be 80s. Let's just not do it, because it'll kill us.
Yeah, well, so, just be yourself.
That's it. We just took on let's just wear what we want to wear and do it. On stage, let's just wear black. Just wear black. Nobody can read anything into it. It's not, like I say, we're not wearing our freshly ironed Pleasure to Kill shirt. Let's just look black. It'll look more professional. Let's just do that, and it'll, it doesn't have any. You just wear black. There's no ties to it. It doesn't date it. You're just wearing black.
You just look like a bunch of burglars. It's
like a bunch of burglars
awesome.
Having a laugh with guitar.
a bunch of burglars thieving riffs from everybody else. You bastards.
Yes. Yeah.
Look, speaking of,
gotten away with it too.
Speaking of which, how far down the road are you with your parts for the new album?
It's going really slowly. we're there. We're almost there. It's I'm holding us up. It's all my fault.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we started when it's a long story. When all quit in 2013, 14, I think it was. We'd just done Skull, the fourth album, and Earache had just Jess, got rid of us after the 4-album deal. So see you guys. Right, well, thanks, bye. All quit, and then we got Piers in to play guitar, and we started writing then. And because Piers was still learning the old materials we still had to go out and tour. He learned the set, and then we tried to start writing then, and it just kind of stalled. It didn't really go anywhere, I don't think. And then things started to fall apart with Piers, and skip ahead a few years, and all rejoiced. And with All's always been the main songwriter of Evile. He's always the one who comes up with most of the riffs and the music, whereas I've always done the lyrics and the melodies and the vocals.
Right.
I get it depends how you want to weight these things. If you consider that a 50-50 split of songwriting, I have no idea. But that's how it generally tended to work. And I've always done a couple of songs as well, sent them to All, and between us we've worked out structures and whatnot. But as soon as he's come back on board, he had loads of stuff for his second solo album he wanted to do. And he just kind of thought, you know what, I'll just chuck it into the pile. So he donated a lot of his material for his solo stuff, which oddly enough just sounded like Evile. So we've just been working on those. And I've been writing a couple. I think I've contributed 3 songs this time. All's contributed about 7, I think, so far. And I just need to get on with writing the vocals for them. But I'm just struggling with 3 kids, full-time job, 3 kids. There's just so much other stuff going on that I'm just, I get maybe a couple hours a week to actually do any writing. Other than that, I'm asleep. So I'm just trying to, it's just as and when, really. There's no deadline to it. We're just going to do it as it feels right, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
it's getting the best.
Well, it's ultimately there's no rush, is there?
No, there's no deadlines. There's no labels breathing down our neck. It's on us to go out and find a label if any are interested. The only kind of pressure we've got would be from our booking agent, who wants to know when it's going to be done so we can get out and play some shows and she can make 10%. I think that.
Do you mean the booking agent that dropped us 4 days after our album came out?
Is that the same one? Really?
Yeah. It's not like they've been working towards this point for 4 years, but never mind.
I wasn't aware of that at all.
Yeah, no. Well, shit happens. I will. I'll speak to you off air a little more.
That's a good idea.
Yes.
All right.
But it was a bit of a fucker. Got a new one on board virtually straight away, but
Oh, good.
It's just a bit timing sucked a big one. Put it that way.
That's bizarre timing, though, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, literally any other point in the last 4 years would have been better.
That would have been more useful, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if at all, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, it's that, but shit happens. Such is life.
It bloody does, and it always bloody does as well.
But we're definitely going to be doing some shows with you guys though at some point. That is, I mean, I've spoken to All about it. I'm now gonna get you to swear blind down on it as well.
Cut your palm and put it on the phone.
Well, it's just the thing is, it's ideal because it's basically we'll do our album tour, you get your album out, you do your album tour, and then when we're both ready to squeeze the dregs out of out of what we're doing before having to go back and record another album, we can do a fucking co-headliner and bring the old school and the new school together, and it's got to fucking happen.
That'd be all right, wouldn't it?
Oh man, I just think it's. I think our fans will love you. Your fans will love us. I think it'll be one big fucking loving. And what happens in the course of that is you pick up a load new old school fans, and we pick up a load new school fans. And what more could you possibly want? It's
a nice trade, isn't it?
Isn't it just?
It's a nice trade.
Well, I personally, I think you're getting the better deal because our fans are a bit older and have money.
Our fans are old now too. It's 10 years.
Oh fuck me! Fair enough. You've got a very good point. In fact, the more actually, they're probably coming to see us already. Yeah, actually, just fuck off that idea of touring together. Yeah.
I'll feel like that.
Now we've got to do that, man. Just be awesome. Really looking forward to playing with you guys one day.
It would be good. So, can I ask you a question?
Of course you can, mate.
Like, you were saying you were vocal about the. Well, let's do the elephant in the room thing, because you were quite vocal about the newer thrash bands.
Yes,
I remember years and years ago. I can't remember who it was. I remember somebody saying to me that H from Acid Rain, he fucking hates you guys. I remember somebody saying, I don't know if it was some kind of post somewhere, some conversation somewhere. Somebody just said to me, he absolutely fucking hates you. He thinks you're the shittest band in the world. and that always stuck with me.
Wow. It's
oh, you know what? That's horrible, but not horrible, because I know everyone's entitled to their own.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to bring up as well. This is a whole other tangent. I'll fire at you in a bit. But it was because I was young at the time. I was only, young. I was 27 or something.
Right.
and only just getting used to being reviewed and having things said about your band. We even got some death threats from the first album. It was weird. So all these things I was just getting used to having these personal attacks.
Oh, mate.
I know, I was like a kid going, oh, man. I got used to it within a week. I was going, yeah, whatever, it's fine.
But it's disappointing. It's disappointing to hear that, especially if you if you liked Acid Rain and all the rest of it, and to hear that is incredibly disappointing. So firstly,
there was a bit of that. Yeah, it was a bit of Acid Rain. They were around for they did really well. I mean, you guys were only around for 6 years. Are you active for? Was it?
Yeah, about that.
But at the time it was like, but they were doing, they were there, they were doing it, and that was a bit, that's a shame. But
yeah, I know. Yeah, no. Well, look,
would be that I don't take that as a bad thing though, because I don't understand why when people in other bands say something bad about another, say they don't like another band, for some reason that always seems to carry a lot more weight for people.
Yes.
Than if you're just a normal person saying it. And I've never ever understood why people in bands can't like the music of other bands. It's nothing personal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So why when people say that, it's just like, well, fuck that guy. I've never ever got that.
Well, it's almost like bands are almost expected to not have opinions on other bands,
exactly,
which is total bullshit. But look, let me address this. Firstly, I probably did say all of that because it does sound like me, right? Secondly, it's interesting from picking up on what a lot of what you've said is I wasn't a fan of the first album, and the fact that it was produced by Flemming Rasmussen as well, it just ticked all of the boxes for everything that I was saying earlier about like.
Well, yeah.
Do you know, and through the course of our conversation, you already said you were way ahead of me. I wasn't aware that this was coming, but luckily you've given me a few outs here. But as you did, as you said, you've gone more kind of like, look, let's just do our own thing. And so, being across thrash metal as a whole, as soon as a new UK band came out, then, let's just say I wasn't a fan. But over the years and, all of your previous work far surpasses that first album for me. And you for me, you developed into your own band, your own thing, your own sound. To the extent that when I was interviewing Bobby from Overkill last year, he said he came up with the perfect phrase. He said, "My problem with new school thrash bands is no one's picked up the flag and run with it." And I was like, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. He said, maybe with the possible exception, one band that I thought was maybe going to do something, and it was very nearly happening, and then it didn't happen for some reason, and that was Evile.
Hey,
yeah, he was, and I was like, wow, have you heard the first album? It's shit. No.
Fucking hate those guys.
feel like I can say anything now because you've had that against me, and it's taken you 45 minutes to get it into the conversation. So
no, it's not against at all. I just wanted to say it. No,
right,
I've blown
okay.
the doors off it. It's fine. Yeah.
Well,
I don't do grudges. It's like I say, it winds me up when people in bands are allowed to talk about other bands.
Well, do you know what? Do you know what? When you say, yeah, I mean, I don't get that at all. I mean, I guess I just fucking offer my opinion usually if it's asked for, but to be fair, a great deal of the time it's not asked for, and it's delivered anyway. So yeah. Oh, well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you listen to what I think about that? Yeah. So anyway,
that's nice of Bobby though. That's really nice of him.
Sorry,
Bobby.
Oh yeah. No, that was a really genuinely cool comment, and I was like, wow, that's fucking awesome.
That is lovely. We did a fair few shows with him in the States, and quite a few times he'd be sat watching on a chair. He'd be sat watching us. He's great, lovely guy.
Oh, isn't he just? I mean, he's just he's just your favourite heavy metal fucking uncle, isn't he? I mean, he's just like he's the dude.
Yeah,
he's the absolute dude. He told me an amazing fucking story on the what was it on the. Oh, fucking hell, where was I? Jesus, my brain has just turned to mush because an email turned up on my laptop. So straight away I'm like, I can't remember what I was saying.
Attention, divided.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's the old ADHD kicking in again. Thank you. Yeah. There's my excuse.
Natural non-assistance.
Yes, yeah, that's my that's absolutely my fucking state of mind. But no, I mean, he told me an amazing story, and he's just got so many fucking stories, and he's such a passionate guy, but boy, does he know his music.
He's an encyclopedia, isn't he? He knows his stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're talking fan levels of fucking knowledge.
I just don't. Joel's kind of the same as that. He just retains all these things about bands. He knows who was in certain bands during certain years and who wrote what, who's got what credit. He just knows all these things, and you go, how do you remember this stuff? That's I can't hold on to anything more than the 10 songs of lyrics I'll be singing that night. Anything else other than that, gone.
Really?
Gone. Yeah, I can't remember anything. Anything to do with band members' names, years albums came out, even song titles. I cannot hold on to any information at all. I don't know why.
So what about lyrics then?
I just barely scrape through.
Really?
With what? Yeah, for shows when we're playing, I say I will warm up for ages before a show, and I'll go through the set, playing it and singing it to make sure it's in there.
Fucking hell! Wow.
I don't know why. I just cannot retain information. It's mental. I can't hold on to anything.
Well, I mean, all joking aside, I had my ADHD diagnosis at the beginning of this year,
right.
And it took a long while to go through the system and get that. And I'm certainly not saying that it's that you've got ADHD, but one of the things that I struggle with on a daily basis is being able to retain information. Not as badly as that, but if just anything. If my attention gets divided, then both things are just going to disintegrate. I can't do both. And if I'm concentrating on, for instance, got my phone in front of me, if I'm concentrating on what I'm doing on my phone, people can speak to me for 10, 20 minutes and I'll be completely unaware that they're talking to me. Losing stuff, always losing stuff, forgotten where I've put stuff. Lists are very handy. But yeah, that genuinely sounds like there is some kind of sort of underlying condition that...
Well, I know part of it is, I mean, I've had... I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety a couple of years ago. I hit a wall big time with it. And I had no idea that I even had it. I didn't even know anything about it, really, until I think, looking back at it when I was speaking to people about it, Probably had it when I was about 14.
Yeah.
And with not knowing what it was, I just assumed that it was my natural state, and just went through life making silly decisions and forgetting things. But yeah, when I hit a wall a few years ago and had a really big kind of, not episode's the wrong word, but I needed a bit of assistance.
Yeah.
And it was, that's when it was all sorted out. And yeah, memory loss is part of that as well. So I'm putting it down to that. But yeah, that's a constant struggle, and that's part of why that's also been to do with on stage stuff as well. Whereas that's why I have to be so prepared with it, to know what I'm going to say and then practice the set as much as I can, because if I don't, my attention has to be fully on that, what I'm going to be doing. If something breaks it, if something happens that's that unexpected, I'm not equipped to deal with this, and the anxiety kicks in.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And that's kind of where I lose what I'm doing. That's like, I wish I had that natural talent to be able to react to those things and have the perfect thing to say.
So is the preparation? The preparation is a safety guard against ending up in a position whereby you'll need to improvise, and that will cause you a load of anxiety and potentially tank your performance. Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah, I remember doing. But oddly enough, I remember, when was it now? I think it was in the States when we toured with Gamma Bomb. We did a few of those. I think it was Overkill, and then Creator on a few, and then did a few DRI. That was awesome. But yeah, because we were playing every night without fail, there were no breaks for a few months, and I managed to get a routine. So we had half an hour set every night. It was it never changed. It was the same. And I was saying pretty much the same words every night to the same. Luckily, the crowds were kind of similar size, so I got it. I tweaked it as I was going.
Yeah,
I was generally saying the same thing generally to the crowd, in relation to the songs and whatnot. But I had it so rehearsed and well down that my confidence for it just shot straight up when I was doing it, and I performed better. And I remember one show where it was my amp broke, and I think I had to. So I rushed around, got a replacement amp, threw it on stage, and then I think that one broke as well. I think I broke 2 amps, and I think I broke a string straight after it, and I didn't have any spares. And then I think my voice went, and it all happened within the space of half an hour, I think. And it just completely threw me. And I overreacted a bit. I just done something I've never, ever, ever done, and I would never, ever want to do it again. But at the time, I didn't know I was suffering with the old anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
And it flipped me. And I just remember running backstage and taking my guitar and not knowing what to do with myself at all. I just pushed my guitar into a brick wall. Luckily, it was free. So I thought if I'd have paid for it, I'd have been annoyed, but it was free. I think I borrowed it off someone. And I just remember grabbing the guitar and just pushing it into the wall as hard as I could. And I didn't know what to do. And I couldn't go back out on the stage and address it. And I should have just gone straight back out there and just gone, I'm really sorry, I've had a nightmare. I need to go upstairs. The kids are home. 2 seconds. I remember just not knowing what to do. And I just stopped backstage and I could not go back out at all. And so since then, like I say, you learn as you go, don't you? And that was one of the big mistakes I made, letting things get to me.
How were the rest of the band about that?
They were really, really annoyed. Really annoyed. But at the time, I didn't know what was going on with me. And nobody really did. I think they just thought I was being a moody bastard.
Yeah, no, I mean, it just rings a bell, because this is what we do when we're on the road at a certain age. And with perspective, you think, wow, one of the band there is really struggling. But at the time, you just think, you fucking twat, you fucked up my show.
Yeah, you've ruined the gig for everyone. And
yes.
Yeah,
you selfish bastard. Like, you did it on purpose.
You stormed off stage like a diva. What are you doing?
Oh, man, you must have felt terrible.
It was horrible, absolutely horrible. And I just can't remember the sequence of events. There was just I'm sure it was amps breaking, and there was something that went so badly wrong that I could not fix it, and I lost it and just went off stage and just put a guitar into a wall. So that was the end of that show. Yeah.
How were you the following night? Because of course your routine had been broken, so it's like shit. Was it almost like back to square one?
As far as I remember, I think we had to do that tour in a couple of stages. I think we did a couple of months, maybe March and April. It's 2010. We probably did March and April and did a couple of laps in the States and Canada. And then we came back out and did it again. And I think we did some shows in the UK before we went out. So we were well oiled. We knew what we were doing. We were okay on stage. Yeah. And it was when we flew straight out to the States and did this. I think it was the first show. It was the first one with probably Overkill, actually. I'd have to check the tour pass to look online to see what the dates were. But yeah, it was. I'm pretty sure it was the first show back, and it put the entire thing into this horrible cavern of despair. But yeah, I think after that, I think it was okay. I think I really quickly learned my lesson and checked my gear to make sure it was working.
And had some spare strings kicking around, things like that.
Yeah. Actually invest into things that as supposed professionals should invest in.
The tools of your so-called trade.
Mr. Amateur. Oh God.
So lyrically or vocally, are you have you got anything down for the new album yet, or is it just solos and bits and pieces at the moment, or what?
Currently, it's mostly the rhythms. Drums are getting there. We're just going through it, doing passes on it, and adding fill. Me and All are doing it. It's all me and All doing the writing for it so far. Locally, I've got a list of about 50 song titles, and I go back to it every 3 days and knock one off
Because that's the way everyone works.
That's how we write music.
Yeah, that's what everyone does. Yeah, they come up with 50 song titles and then they just chalk one off every day.
Secret to Evile success.
Hey, mate, ultimately, it doesn't fucking matter, does it? I mean, some bands out there, mate, right, always does my head in when, people, you hear like Anthrax saying, yeah, we wrote like 35 songs for this album. It's like, what? We were away for 29 years, and the 10 songs on the album are the fucking 10 songs we've worked on. Yeah,
we're the exact same. We look at an album and just think, right, we're going to go for 9 tracks, and we write them 9 tracks.
And then you absolutely, totally, you stress test them, you pull them apart, you put them back together, you do absolutely everything. By the time I'm finished with songs, I'm ready to go into the studio, right? I'm absolutely in love with all of them, most of them. Some we're going to see how they'll come off in the studio, all the rest of it. But the thought that but by the end of that process, I was going to go in and record maybe 16 or 17 and keep the best 10. I'd be like, there's no way I could let go of any of those songs because they require so much work.
And I always looked at it as the amount of time you're going to spend on it. If you can spend, say you've got a year to write an album, you're going to spend a certain amount of time. Say you're going to write 30 songs. That's time that could have been spent writing only 10 and making them the best.
Yes, exactly.
Why would you write 30 songs?
Yeah,
Why?
I know, and I'd never ever be. I mean, so I'd have to bin off like what fucking 20 sets of lyrics. You're fucking joking, aren't you? I put my heart and soul into my lyrics.
Well, yeah, exactly. Do you do them last? How do you work? How do you let it all just come as it comes?
I write lyrics as and when. They just come to me, and I'll usually it usually takes me from start to finish to write a song probably about 20 to 40 minutes, and that's it. Once I've got the idea going and once the words are coming, I just have to type it as quick as possible.
Wow, that's fast.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I've been known to write 2 in one day before. And but then I'll walk away and I'll come back an hour later and I'll look and I'll make a couple more edits. But yeah, definitely
do a reread. Yeah,
yeah, but definitely in the space of a couple of hours, then I'll have gone from having nothing to having what I consider to be the finished article. But then again, I always write too many words, so what I consider to be the finished article will then be seriously fucked about with after that. But yeah, no, song title is very important for me, so I know where you're coming from on there. Because I think once you've got a title, it almost, to me, sort of sends you in the direction, that gives you the direction of where you need to go lyrically for the rest of the song. Or, whilst I'm writing it, there'll be a line where I go, oh, that's the title, and I'll go back up to the top and write that as the title.
Yeah, I kind of do it several different ways. I don't have a set method at all. It could be. I could think of a song title, write that down. I could think of I could fire out a quick 2-line, half a verse.
Yeah,
think, that sounds really good.
Yes.
What could come after that? I think, but yeah, and I've got so many notes written, just oddly placed that they don't make any sense. They don't correspond to each other. They're just tons and tons of notes. And when we get music done, we normally have the songs structured, the riffs sound good, they work together. Normally, I'll then just go in and look at it and come up with a vocal line for it, do a couple of la-la-las, where the notes can go, and then apply my notes to it, and then tweak as we go.
Now, you see,
so it's kind of a bit by bit. I couldn't. There's no way I could sit down and do a full set lyrics in 40 minutes. It takes me 6 months.
Well, I do realise I'm a bit odd like this, but also
it's amazing. I'm so impressed.
No, it's all right, mate. Honestly, it's an affliction. But what happens is I always write independently, and by that I mean independently of the band, independent of thought, independent of music. I just write. You see, as I found out when I was interviewing Fish, I'm a writer that can sing. I'm not a singer that can write. So,
okay, that's a good way of looking at it.
So writing to me is very important. So for me, when I get going, it's just spewing out of me, and it's unedited completely. Some of it rhymes, some of it doesn't. Whatever, it's just going on the page, and that's that. And so for me, it's important for the lyrics to be written completely independently of anything else. And certainly on the last album, there's all of the lyrics were written independently of the music. Nothing was written to order.
It's a good way to do it.
Well, I think you end up with purity. You end up with purity of music, and you end up with purity of lyrics, and then it's a case of doing that thing where you're merging them together. But funnily enough, sometimes I've written a set of lyrics and then I've heard a set of music and gone, well, there for that, that's perfect.
Yeah.
That's the vibe. That's the vibe I was looking for. That's absolutely, where I'm at. And then other times, I remember having the lyric, there's writing on the wall, but what does it say? Should I worry about tomorrow or today? Waking up screaming in a pouring sweat. Open my eyes, amazed I'm not dead yet. And that, I had that lyrical phrase for fucking months, but just that. And I just had it on my notes on my phone thinking that there's a song there somewhere. And then one day, and then one day I opened up to my laptop and those words came in my head and I opened the document it's on and I finished the rest of the song.
Wow.
But it's just, it just comes and goes, as it were.
It's a skill, though. It's a definite skill to be able to do that.
Well, I think it's... thank you very much. Thank you. But I think it comes from comedy as well. Comedy is very much a case of... I've never written comedy. It just comes to you. And all of a sudden you just go, oh, fucking hell, that. And you write it down. So it's kind of... I've just carried on the way I write comedy. I've kind of carried on the way I write lyrics. But just kept the odd line here and there. But then when it comes to writing a set of lyrics, it's completely different to writing comedy altogether. But I've just become more disciplined at making notes, and when I have an idea, go write that down, because my fucking brain is for shit. So if I do have a line or a group of words that I like the sound of together or anything like that, I've got to write them down straight away.
Yeah, I do the same thing. That is a really good handshake though between the concepts of, like, say, your comedy and your music. Is a really good handshake to have that. It's the same principle, isn't it? Really, they complement each other so well.
It is. It's
writing.
It is that discipline of I've had an idea, I need to write it down.
Yeah,
and which is important, but also recognizing collections of words that work together as well, and just double meanings and things like that I'll make a note of. The weirdest thing ever is the title to the song "The Man Who Became Himself," which was a line from the movie The Lobster, and I remember hearing it and writing it down and thinking that's cool. And then when it came to going on tour to and the lead single was "The Man Who Became Himself," I thought it'd be really good to get the bit of dialogue from the movie where she says, "Oh, you wrote your poem. We've decided to call it 'The Man Who Became Himself.'" I thought, well, it'd be really cool to have that line of dialogue and we can use that as an intro tape. So I went through the movie. The line is not in the movie. So I went to YouTube, watched all the extras. The line's not there. I borrowed DVD. So then I got Pete and Paul in the band on the case, Google searching lines of dialogue. And Paul came back to me and basically said the only existence of the phrase "the man who became himself" on the internet is from our single of the same name. So I have no fucking idea where that's from or where it's gone. Or if
you just convinced yourself it was from that film.
Well, I was absolutely convinced, mate. I sat and watched the whole fucking film like a dick, right? Including the bit of the movie where I was sure it was, and I was like, "Come on, where is it?" And it never appeared. I was fast forwarding through the movie, going, "It's got to be in here somewhere," and then I was just. And I was saying to Pete and Paul, look, and Paul is is a movie editor, he's a fucking screenwriter, it's his world. He was like, "Oh, don't worry, I'll find that for you in 2 minutes on Google." And then he came back like about half an hour later and went, "Mate, the only existence of that phrase on the internet is as our single."
You are a genius.
I am weird.
I have all of the brains.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, "Oh, yeah, I think you're just dreaming I'm dreaming movies with song titles within the movies."
And it pays off.
Well, the thing is, as I've said before to many people, that's not isn't the word spooky kind of story. That story is, that phrase is fucking somewhere. Will somebody please find out where it is and let me know when you do? Because it's doing my fucking head in. It's insane. Have you ever had anything like that happen to you?
I don't think so. There's a weird little thing that we did. What was it now? There was a film company that got in touch with Earache years ago, and they said, "Oh, hi, we're producing the new Neil Jordan film." And
nice.
We were originally looking for a Metallica track. Again, Metallica coming up again.
Yeah.
We wanted to use a Metallica song called Slither, but we can't afford it. So somebody put us in touch with you because you've got a band called Evile.
Brilliant.
So we must be somewhere out there. Someone knows us as the poor man's Evile. Metallica, sorry. We are that too, actually.
If you were the poor man's Evile, fuck me, mate. That would really be something to look at.
Something to aspire to, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we're wondering if you guys got anything that's similar to that song. So Earache give us a shout and said, "We've had this email through. What do you reckon? Do you want to be in a Neil Jordan film?" I said, "Yeah, sure. Well, how about this one?" So we recommended this song to him, and it was going to be used in a scene where a guy gets really drunk and he's just jumping around his room in front of his family. And so, yeah, fair enough, cool. And we let him use it, but we never got to really see it until it came out on DVD. So I remember getting a copy of the DVD, sitting down to watch it, and I don't remember seeing or hearing that scene or the music in the film. And it was really weird, and I'm sure it's there, but maybe I fell asleep for that minute. I don't know.
What's the movie called? What's the movie called?
Ondine.
On,
It's got
on.
Ondine, Ondine. It's got
right.
Colin Farrell in it.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, it was quite a big deal, actually, and I don't remember us being in it.
Well, all of the listeners out there will now be thinking, fucking hell, right, I'm going to check that film out.
Yeah, I'll have to... I'm sure I've got a copy of it somewhere. I remember... I'm going to have to go and check it again, because in my head, I don't remember seeing it or hearing the song and going, yeah, we're doing a Jordan film. But yeah, I don't remember hearing it. So
well, I'll tell you what. If we get loads of people tweeting the podcast and letting me know where it is and all the rest of it, given you're not on social media, yeah, I'll text you the answers.
Oh, thank you. Oddly enough, I do have a Facebook. I just don't use it. I only use it for my cinema.
Ah, right, okay. Well, I kind of like that, man. I kind of like that. Good on you. Do you do WhatsApp?
Yeah, I've got a WhatsApp thing. Yeah. I've got like a Evile one with chat nonsense on it occasionally.
Well, believe it or not, WhatsApp is technically a social media platform. So you've been.
Oh, there you go.
All right,
I'm already done then.
Yeah, exactly. You're an expert. You can hire yourself out for hundreds now. Yeah,
I worked something finally.
Yeah, social media expert. I know how to use WhatsApp. Give me your phone here. Not a problem.
Social media expert, amateur frontman.
Amateur frontman. You're a pro, dude. We're all, honestly, you guys have. I think you guys have kind of taken the flag of UK thrash and further than anyone, without a doubt. I mean, I think currently of all of the UK thrash bands out there, I think you stand top of the tree, and I'm including all your old schools in there. I'm including us. I'm including Onslaught and Zentrix and everybody. I think.
Oh wow!
I think you've really sort of sat at the top of the tree and set the standards these days, which really guts me to say that after your shitty first album.
A pile of crap.
H from Acid Rain. H from Acid Rain hates you. Fucking hell.
And now he loves you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What a two-faced cunt.
I'll never speak to him again. The weird thing is, right, I'm most proud of our last album. The fourth one, I think it was...
Yeah, but you always are. Yeah, but you always are, though, aren't you? You're always proud of your most recent album. If you're not, there's a fucking problem.
No, not even that. Even from... It's been... It came out 5-6 years ago. So in between that time, when we've been either learning some of the older songs to play live again, or even in the past, we've not played live for over a year now. It's been ages, and in that time, I've not picked up a guitar as much. I've not done any vocal training. I've just hopped it all off because I've been working and bringing up kids. When you go back to the songs, you listen to them again, going through the albums. As a listener and a fan of music, we always try to write songs that we would want to listen to as fans of metal. Thrash metal, I guess, because that's what we're doing. But I always said that's a very, very big. My words are failing me today. They really are. I don't want to say metal as a genre because that would be a bit too hard to reach those lofty heights. There's some amazing metal bands out there. But of thrash metal, the songs we want to hear are what we write. So going back and listening to those albums again, to hear how they hold up to our expectations of the writing compared to getting them into your ears again as a listener.
Yeah.
The fourth one really holds up as a kind of a complete package and a sound of how I think we should sound, and it's still got it. It's still there. It sounds like Evile.
So that is that really is the standard for you that you've got to reach / better with the new stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, it's always got in it more of what I wanted to put in, and that's that bit more of a touch of death metal in there. It's got that kind of a bit of roughness to it. One thing I'm not a fan of is a lot of modern productions can go so far towards making everything as perfect as it can be.
Yeah, absolutely.
That it just loses, especially with thrash metal, because you need that kinetic push to it. you lose a lot of the dynamic in it, and I'm so sad when I see great bands just kill all the dynamics that they should have in a record.
Totally agree.
It's just flat, and I hate it.
Totally agree.
So one thing, that's one of the main reasons why we went with Russ to record our albums with, because he absolutely understands what we're doing, and I don't know if he's done it. I'm sure he's done it on purpose because he's a clever bugger. He's built in. I think he always kind of held back a bit. Like, this might sound, he'll hear this and go, "You twat," but I always suspected that he held back a little bit of what he was doing, so he could. There's always somewhere to go with the next one for progression and making it that little bit heavier, that little bit dirtier, that little bit more attention grabbing. Just there's a really clear progression from the second to the third to the fourth album to my ears that they just get better every time.
Yeah,
and I kind of suspect that Russ just really knows what he's doing, and he gets that Evile need that little bit of that light and dark, that push and pull between instruments, and if you have all those quantizing stuff and perfectly timed hits and all that stuff, it just gone.
Well, I'm absolutely exactly the same. That's why we went for a more organic kind of production with the new album. Everything on the album is raw sounds. So,
and you can tell, and it sounds great as well.
Oh, thank you, man.
Straight away you can tell.
Well, it's like all of those drums, they are the drum sounds. There's no fucking samples replacing the drums. The guitars were recorded. Paul plugged into a Ibanez Tube Screamer into a Marshall JCM 800, and we mic'd it up.
Oh, there you go.
So the guitar sounds are, everything is pure, and that's why we wanted everything to sound. I'm really glad I'm really glad you think that we pulled it off, because I think we were really pleased with how it sounds, and we wanted to go for bigger. Do you know what I mean? What's wrong with going for a fucking, a production that sounds huge instead of a production that's been mixed for fucking earbuds? Exactly.
Yeah, and it definitely comes across. Actually, that's one of the things I thought when I was listening to it. I did think, this sounds larger. And I listened to it. I had it on the other day when I was, what was I doing that day? I was in the kitchen. I think I had it on when I was cooking. And it just comes across as, bigger, larger, more. And I thought, and another thing I really thought as well is it's really, really consistent as well. It's an odd kind of compliment to give someone. That was consistent. But yeah, in a really positive way, it's a really consistent album. It's one of those that starts, doesn't let up, and it ends at that same high. And I was really impressed.
Oh, great. Cool, man. Thank you. I mean, we just wanted to do 44 minutes in and out, old school. Take people on a journey. It's written as an album. It's not a bunch of songs. It's written as an album. The idea is that you take people on a journey, and by the end of it, and it's if you listen to one song off the album, you should want to listen to them all. Do you know what I mean? It's not a playlist album. Yeah. It's there for you. You're supposed to listen to it in the order we gave it to you, and it's put like that together for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people don't know, do they, that how much effort you put into sequencing as well. That you'll sit down, you'll listen to that thing so many times to go, right, that one goes there. So we should hear this one first. And this one, because that flows into that. It's so much the little details that...
Do you know what, mate? Do you know what, mate? I was absolutely dreading sequencing the album and doing the track listing, and it was all done in about 3 emails. I mean, yeah. I was fucking dreading it. Thought it's like everybody's going to want, we're all going to disagree, blah, 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 blah. And we'd done it all in the space of 3 emails, signed off, job done. But I think when you live with songs so long, you just kind of know where they should be. Do you know what I mean? And if someone says, "But what about that?" There, the rest of you all just go, "No, you're wrong."
Nah.
Yeah. That is a poor idea.
Yeah. Relegate yourself.
Yeah. Well, look, mate, I could sit here and chat to you for another fucking hour and 20 minutes, because that is how long we've been talking, believe it or not.
Even with interruptions, excellent.
Even with interruptions, because I paused the interruptions, so that is pure 1 hour 22 minutes of pure chat. Perfect. Look, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. I will definitely get you back on whenever I can. I really enjoyed talking to you, man. Really enjoyed it.
It's a pleasure. I'd love to.
Cool, man. Well, look, thank you very much. This will be out as part of the November podcast, but I will be doing. I'll be doing a Christmas special. I don't know what on yet, but I'm sure I'll get you roped into that somehow.
Oh, please do. I'm well up for it.
Will do. All right, mate. Absolutely lovely to meet you, as it were.
Pleasure.
And I look forward to playing some shows together, man. And good luck with the album.
Excellent. Thank you, and congrats on yours as well. Well done.
Awesome. Thanks, dude.
Great. Cheers, dude.
Cheers, mate.
See you. Bye.
Bye-bye. And there you have it. Wow. We're up to 2 hours and 40 minutes. This is like the old days, coming up for the 3-hour Bollocast. Remember the old 3.5-hour ones? Yeah, fucking hell. How the hell did we ever get through those together? So we are coming up to the end of the podcast now. I am going to do a section at the end of the podcast about the passing of former Music for Nations chief and Secret Records chief Martin Hooker, the man who signed my band Acid Rain, who died this week. And I am going to do a section, I'm going to do that at the end of the podcast, because for some of you it will mean something, for some of you it won't, but also I don't want to leave the podcast on a downer. And it just didn't fit in anywhere else. So anyway, at this point, I'd like to thank you all for listening, for getting this far, for supporting the podcast any way you can. The Bollocast. If you please share it, especially this edition. I mean, come on, Matt from Evile, who hardly ever does interviews, with revealing some amazing stuff. You got Barney from Napalm. Come on, share it, please, pretty please, with a cherry on top. Because you, the Bollocast army, are the biggest asset that I have to spreading the word. I'd really appreciate it if you did. It'd be fucking awesome. For those of you who are interested, sign up at Patreon. Sign up for 1 month, spend $6, and just download all the shit that you want, and then leave again. I mean, fucking hell, why not do that? You know, or you might turn up there and go, wow, there's loads of stuff here. No, I'm going to stay. Or you might go, yeah, this isn't for me. But, you know, as a one-off, it might be a good idea. I'm just saying it. I'm just putting it out there. I did say I wasn't going to mention Patreon again earlier, didn't I? I'm sorry about that. I did. My bad. So, thank you all for listening. It has been a journey. We've done it together. We've been doing this for quite a while now, and I'm going to continue doing it, whether you sign up at Patreon or not. I've mentioned it again. And, but it's just great. It's great knowing I'm doing this, that there's people out there that are listening to it. That's it. I love the stories of where you listen, how you listen, what you do when you listen. And in fact, if you're listening to the podcast right now, okay, what I want you to do, if you're driving and you're listening to the podcast and you're driving right now, what I want you to do, right, is wind down your window. Now, I know it might be a bit cold, all right? Well, it will be if you're over here. If you're not in this country, it might be warm. Wind your window down, right? Your driver's window down, or your passenger window, wherever you are, wind the fucking window down. Wind it down? How the fuck? Right, first off, sell the car that you're driving that hasn't got electric windows and has got old-style windy windows, right? Get up to date, right? Just get the window down. I'm making the right hash of this, right? And after 3, I want you to shout bollocks, right? 1, 2, 3, bollocks! I love shit like this. Honestly, I'm such a child. And remember, if you go to a gig between bands, somebody shout bollocks really loud. Then somebody shout bollocks back, and then somebody reply with talking bollocks, and then you'll know that there's other bollockers in the building. Please do it just for me. If you hear that at any gig, please do let me know. That would be relatively amusing. All right, so anyway, look, thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for listening. That's the end of this month's episode. There will now follow a tribute to Martin Hooker. Thanks a lot. See you later. So Martin Hooker was the man that signed my band Acid Rain to Music for Nations way back in 1987. He was also the man who was very instrumental in the early years of Metallica's career, to an extent that when Metallica were going to sign to Elektra, the major label, they wanted to stay on Music for Nations for Europe. But Elektra, of course, being a major, we're having none of it. We want you for, we want you for the whole world, or not at all. He was just so approachable, such a really nice guy, so supportive, so fucking supportive over the years that we were on the label, right up until when we weren't on the label. And then again, it was him and Jem Howard who were totally up for doing the worst of Acid Rain, doing a compilation album of a band that they just dropped. Well, not dropped, but the contract had come to an end and we decided to go our separate ways. But it just goes to show what a lovely bunch they were. I mean, Music for Nations record deals, we got our masters back after 10 years. That was unheard of. Used to be like labels would sign and they'd want you to own your masters in perpetuity. That means forever. And sorry if that was patronising. He was just immensely supportive to me personally as well. I had some rough times in the band, and he was incredibly supportive. At one stage there was a period where I'd actually left Acid Rain. We were on tour, and things had come to a head, and I'd actually left / been kicked out. And I remember ringing the label and speaking to the office manager there, and she was like, "Oh, hang on a second, Martin wants a word." And he came on the phone. He said, "Right, what the fuck's going on, H?" And I was like, I told him, and he was like, "Right, we'll go back and tell them all they can fuck off. They don't have a record label, and they can't use the band name, or I'll sue them to death. And we're going to rebuild the band with just you. You're the person I believe in. You're the one I'm going to stick with." And at the time, I was absolutely in bits. I mean, the band was my life's work. I was 19 years old and being told that I wasn't welcome anymore. And to hear that, if somebody could have written down on paper the exact words that I needed to hear at that point, that would have been it. And I can never thank him enough for that, and I'm never going to get the chance to. I'm awaiting funeral details, and Jem, I got a message from Jem Howard this week that told me, what had happened. That he'd passed. I still don't know exactly what had happened. And this man was such a major part of my life. I've got no idea where I'd be now or what I'd be doing if he hadn't signed the band. And it really, really hit me. It absolutely knocked me for six. I was just, I don't know why it hit me so hard. I think because he was such a major part of my life for those years. And he was always there for me in that time, and so supportive. And I know I keep saying that, but that's the word that keeps springing to mind. And he was single-minded. He was larger than life. If I rang the label and he was available, we'd chat. If he wasn't available, I'd leave a message. He'd call me back. This is the head of the label. The man who is overseeing all of those great releases that everybody remembers, all the Death albums, all the fucking just about every thrash album, that wasn't on Roadrunner. It was MFN versus Roadrunner back in those times, and it was just fucking incredible. And I kind of feel like a part of my life has been deleted. It doesn't seem real. It's such a weird feeling. And to give you some idea, I mean, there was a day ago there was a tweet from Metallica saying, "We were deeply saddened to hear that Martin Hooker, the man who formed Music for Nations for our first record label back in 1983, has passed away." And there's a picture of the gold disc of Kill 'Em All. And there's the picture of Martin that, funnily enough, is from my tweet. So there you go. Metallica have used my picture. And it looks like I broke the news to quite a few people, because there was many rock sites who retweeted my tweet, and Dee Schneider, who I tagged in the tweet because I said, look, I know how you feel. He quoted my tweet and said these words. He said, Martin Hooker was the first guy with the sack to sign Twisted Sister. He recorded and released Under the Blade, and that gave us just enough push to make it to Atlantic Records. Also, he caught a piece of fruit thrown at us at the Reading Festival on the fly and ate it. Hashtag RIP Martin. Lots of outpouring from lots of people on social media who thanked him for their for his influence in their lives because of the music that he was responsible for signing and putting out. Such a lovely guy. I mean, how many people in bands can you hear, Dee Schneider paying him a wonderful tribute, Metallica paying him a wonderful tribute, me trying to pay him a wonderful tribute? Doesn't happen. Yeah, you hear so many tales about labels and bands being in conflicts and everything else. And he was one of the old guard, he was one of the old school, and he'll be deeply missed by me and so many other people. See you later, Martin.